Raymond.
Yes.
Raymond Thomas.
Thompson, but close.
Sorry.
No problem.
Once again, Raymond Thompson.
There you go.
All right. How did it happen that you're in Berlin here now and talking to me from the beginning?
Wow, my gosh. I guess all beginning starts with America for me. Man, I was a kid, and I guess this is a little political as well, but like there's something about growing up in America and feeling less than or not necessarily accepted. And then also having people tell you that this is the best country in the world.
Yeah.
That kind of gives you this feeling like, oh shoot, like this is the best it's gonna get. Like this sucks.
So that's very funny. You're starting from this because two other guests in this podcast grew up in America. One was white in Seattle.
Okay, I love.
One was a Polish girl.
Okay.
In Seattle. And they both were talking about this subject, like growing up in America and like all the problems they had.
I don't know if it was so much that the problems that I had. I mean, I'm not saying I didn't have any, but to me, it was more like I just kind of refused to believe that like all these adults could be right. You know, I was surrounded by wonderful, loving people, but they were all telling me that this was the best country in the world, and I was just like, this.
At that time.
Well, they still say it. Like this is how they train us in America. Everyone says it. But the problem is they had never been anywhere. And the first time that I actually felt comfortable talking to an adult and saying like, well, you know, where else have you been? And they were like, oh, I'm never going anywhere. America is the greatest country in the world. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, you can't tell me something is the greatest and you haven't been anywhere else. Yeah. So I started at that point, I think I was 8 years old, and I was like, I'm moving out of here. And I first went to France and started a little something there, but then they didn't care for Americans. So all of a sudden I wasn't, you know, being despised for skin color or stupid things that people didn't know. It was like they just didn't like Americans. And I was like, well, heck, I got to get out of here too. Yeah. So I got on a tour. It was actually a musical theater tour, and it was touring all over Europe. And the company ran out of money, but they didn't tell us. So like they flew us into Stuttgart, and I'm literally checking into the hotel, and we get a note from the management lady, and she says, this is from your company. We're so sorry. And so we're reading this note, and it says like, the company has gone bankrupt. We do not have enough money to get you home. Good luck.
Wow.
So I was just like, and that would have been fine because we were on tour, except that we had just come from Italy, and I bought thousands of dollars worth of shoes. I was broke. And I called my mom, and she was like, you know, my sister had an operation, and like she was broke because obviously.
How old were you?
29 at that point. And literally, I'm on the streets of Stuttgart crying, and this lady walks up to me, doesn't speak a lick of English, but she could see that I'm distressed, and she took me to her home, called her son who lived in Berlin, and I kind of told him my situation, which I normally never do. I never tell people I'm in trouble. And her son flew me to Berlin and was like, if you can stay here for a week, I can get you home. And I was like, this is crazy. No one has ever done this for me or to me before. And I stayed for a week in Berlin, and I fell in love with the place. Mm-hmm. And literally, he flew me back home, and I was at home for 2 months.
He flew you back? He was like what? He was a pilot?
No. I don't actually know what he did. He just paid for my plane ticket to get me home. And no one had ever been that kind to me in my entire life. Wow. And I went home for a couple of months, and I was like, okay. I did some really crappy jobs with some really crappy places, but I didn't care. I just needed money. And I made probably in 2 months like $5,000, and I was like, okay, I'm going back to Berlin, and I'm staying. Okay. And that's what I did.
So it was like more than 15 years ago.
Oh, God. Yes, my God.
Sorry.
Don't tell people my age. I'm 21. Yeah, about 15 years ago. Wait a minute. Yeah, a little 17, we'll be honest.
Oh, okay. No, you're ageless. No.
Sell that to my back and my knees.
So, but at that time you were a singer?
Oh yeah, I've been. I was a dancer first, and then once I had a knee operation, I then started singing and haven't stopped. So I stopped dancing, I think, at 20, and then I've been a singer ever since. But I grew up in the church, so it's not like,
In the church?
of course, of course.
Okay. Where? In which church?
Oh gosh, a few. So the church that I claim in my heart is the Potter's House, and that's with T.D. Jakes, Bishop T.D. Jakes. And I also grew up in Friendship West as well. So, but churches were my life at that point.
It was in Texas. You were
Yeah,
from
that was in Texas. Yeah.
Okay, so what kind of church is that? Like, for us, like in Poland, we just have one church and a few other small things that no one cares about. But I know that you have a lot of lineages, like Christian lineages in US, especially in the South.
We do.
So which one is yours?
Well, Southern Baptist is Friendship West, but non-denominational is
So it's Baptist church.
well, that's what I kind of grew up in, but non-denominational is the Potter House. So it's not like it doesn't really claim a denomination. I think, to me, I gravitate if we're talking about churches separated over ideology. Yeah? Like this one thing that this church could not agree with. Okay, I'm going to make my own little splint. I'm going to make my own little splint. I'm going to make my own little splint. And sometimes it'd be the silliest things. Like for some Southern Baptists, there's a splint because they don't want women to wear pants to church, or they don't want them to be able to preach, or they don't want them to be able to lead. So they're like, okay, but we want our women to be able to do that, so we're going to create another section. I gravitate to those ones who's like, we don't care about the small things. That's not what we are about. We're not about to nitpick you over the little things. We just want you to have a relationship. So that's kind of what I gravitate towards.
Okay.
Which makes me very anti a lot of those churches who have so strict. I don't know how your relationship was with your mother, but did you ever find like the times when your mother was so strict against something were the times you were like, I'm going to do every bit of that thing?
What?
Like, so for example, like if your mother was like, I'm not saying that you do drugs, but like, don't do drugs every single day. And you're like, I'm going to go do drugs because your mother was so anti-drugs.
Yeah, of course.
That's kind of how I feel about some of the churches. And that's why I went denominational, like non-denominational. I'm like, you're so busy telling the world what's wrong that you forgot to tell them what's great about the religion.
What's nomination and non-nomination?
So it just means that we don't categorize it. Like we're not Southern Baptist. We're not Methodist. We're not Catholic. We are here just for God. We're not here to be called something. We're here to develop relationships with God.
So would you say that your church is a liberal Christian Protestant church?
As probably as liberal as it can get.
Okay.
For sure.
Is it true that in the US there is a church of John Coltrane?
I have no clue, but that sounds awesome.
That there is like some kind of Baptist church with John Coltrane music as kind of.
I would believe it
prophecy.
Because, no offense, like, well, I don't know about prophecy, but like, if you've ever listened to John Coltrane, like, it's deeply spiritual. It's deeply moving. Like, I could absolutely find God in it. Yeah. But if you're talking about like he was speaking prophecy for the world, I have no idea.
That's a different story.
But good luck with all that.
So you grew up in this culture, and you were singing in the church, singing gospel, spirituals, and all this stuff?
Kind of. It was a little bit different for me. Like, that's a hard question. So like a little bit. But to me, I always kind of knew what kind of singer I was, which was the worst thing that you can do as a singer is to put yourself in a box. Like I was like, I can't do that. Which is funny now that my resume has so much gospel stuff. It's kind of scary. But at the time, I'm in Texas or in New York or even in Ohio, anywhere that I go, and I'm hearing these amazing gospel musicians just riffing and running and everything else. Like, and I'm like, I can't do that. So I was like, this is not who I am. And it took me a lot of years to figure out, like, you may not be able to do what they can do, but that doesn't mean that you don't have a story to tell in the genre.
So you would say that the level, the level of quality of gospel singers in your area where you were born in Texas in this community was so high that it was overwhelming for you.
For sure. For sure. I mean, still to this day,
Okay.
like when you hire me for gospel gigs here, like something in my spirit always says like, oh, like you should probably go find somebody better, you know? And it's so funny because you're in the crowd and like once you start, you see everyone like really into it. And it's like, well, how silly was I that I spent so much time worrying? But like, no offense, like I think some Texas gospel singers are the best in the world. So it was really, really hard for me being a good singer to see those amazing singers, and then people hire me. I'm like, well, what's wrong with you?
Okay. What does it mean to be best gospel singer? Like, what do you need to be a good gospel singer?
I think that's changed for me now. To me, the only thing you need to be good at to be a gospel singer is to be connected to the material and also be able to touch and connect the people. At that time, to me, it was vocal agility. You know, if you didn't have a certain amount of vocal agility, to me, you weren't a gospel singer. But, you know, I'm 37 now. Like, I've learned so much now that the people with vocal agilities end up not doing anything. Like, you know, I know some, like, literally, I could take you to New York right now and find you 7 of the best singers that you have ever heard of in your entire life. And they're working at places like McDonald's. Yeah. So a vocal agility doesn't mean much to this industry. I mean, in the industry that I've worked in, pop, jazz, blues, gospel, it's important for you to know your theory. It's important for you to know your technique. But vocal agility it's tricks. You know, it's like watching So You Think You Can Dance, and there's always that one kid who can do fouettes around and around and around and around, like, you know, 40 fouettes as if he was in Swan Lake or something. But he never makes it, or at least he doesn't win the show, because it's not just about the tricks. It's about the material, I think.
Did you ever try to sing blues, or, you know, like at that age, like in that period?
You mean like when I first started?
Yeah, like,
oh dude, I was a musical theater kid, man. Are you kidding? Like which kind of like, as a black person in musical theater, kind of went bluesy. You know, like most of the roles for black people in musical theater are blues and jazz. But absolutely. But yeah, musical theater at that point was my heart. Because it told me it was a different world out there than the one that I was living, and I was like, "Yes,
musical theater
for sure." You know, I know that sounds very cliche, but I'm a Judy Garland fan to die for to this day. Bette Midler fan all day long. This is what you'll hear on my rotation on my track. Musical theater gave me hope, and then that kind of blues jazz kind of feel spoke my story. It told my pain, so I was like, "Of course, I have to do this," and I do a lot of it now. Not so much in Berlin, but like I do a lot of it now.
Are you soaked into this tradition of pre-war blues, like Delta blues?
No, no. I don't think that I'm.
Not so much.
No, not at all. Like I never. The moment I stopped trying to put myself in a box, I also stopped trying to put genres in a box. Like there are some blues purists, I guess I can call them purists, who will tell you exactly what they think blues is. But I'm like, blues is just you trying to tell a painful story in a way to connect. Anything that does that, I'll call it blues. Anything that does that, I'll sing it. As long as I can sing it, I will sing it.
And how you as a gospel singer, and especially like, I imagine when you've been like 15 years old, you were singing in the choir, singing gospel.
I was in a choir, but it wasn't me singing. Like, if you had heard me, like, okay, I know, and of course, where I am, you guys know Sister Act. You know that little quiet kid that that Whoopi Goldberg kind of touches and makes him sing out?
Yeah.
Like, that was me, man. Like, I mean, like, who was I to sing out loud? Like, when all these vocal beasts were sitting next to me, just all over the place. I'm just like, I didn't want to sing loud. I didn't want anyone to hear me because I didn't think I belonged. I thought I was a good singer. I mean, even till this day, like, if you ask me how I rank my skills, I am a good singer. I am a great actor. I am a great dancer. That's how I would rank myself. But like, singing wouldn't be my number one. Yeah. Although I can honestly say that I'm good at it. If that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
But I would definitely say, like, I think I'm a great actor. I think I'm a great dancer whenever my knee, I'm getting old, doesn't act up on me. But singing, I can do it really well. But I don't think that I am the best. I think that what makes me hireable is the very fact that I am, I guess, I hate that phrase, but jack of all trades. Like, because there's so many things underneath my belt, I become hireable. And also, like, here as a singer, I don't want to say that. That sounds horrible. But like here as a singer, I will say that when it comes to listening to passion music or people who sing with passion, you guys have some amazing vocal abilities, but the passion is sometimes missing. And I find myself getting hired a lot over people who may sing better than I am, but because they don't understand the staging of it, the passion of it, and all that stuff. So. But yeah.
But doesn't matter in what genre, or mainly in like gospel or blues or soul.
So I don't actually work in those industries anymore.
Where do you work?
To me, mainly now it's pop and jazz, which is crazy for me because I never, as much as I thought I wasn't a gospel musician, I also would have told you I wasn't a jazz musician. But this is kind of what people hire me to do, like that Sarah Vaughan kind of stuff, which is funny to me because my scatting ability is not, to me. But over here, it's such a different story. Like, if I was in America, I think sometimes if you asked me to sing jazz, I probably would tell you no. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But over here, it's a little more open. I don't feel as judged. I don't know if that's because there's not so many jazz singers here. That sounds horrible, or at least not that I know any. If you are there, please let me know. I'd love to meet with you. But yeah, pop is what I get hired the most for nowadays. Yeah.
Do you think it's because, or when you talk about passion in singing, or maybe it's the strength you have because of your culture, that you just grew up in this music, that it's laying in the roots of pop?
That's a good question. No, my roots are not pop. So my mother is.
but gospel, blues, and blues, it's the root.
I get what you're saying. I think actually I just saw a really great thing on Netflix, and God, I think it's called Soundtrack. It's not necessarily the best show I've ever seen, but this guy does this monologue where he tells the story of like every song out there is a love song, and I think because of how I grew up and what we had. Like, we didn't have money, but we had love in such abundance. Like, to this day, my mother is my best friend. I talk to her 4 times a week. I love, 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 love my family. And because I was surrounded by so much love, because it was all that we had, I think in that understanding that all songs are love songs, it doesn't matter where you put me, I'm going to be able to show you love because I know it. I have such a personal relationship with it that no matter where you ask me to sing, I'm going to show you the love in it. I may not be able to show you the vocal ability of it in some of it, but I can definitely show you love. And I think that if you give me a chance or if you listen to me, you're like, oh, okay. Either people always say it's pain, and I think that's funny. People are like, oh, I see the pain in you, and I hurt when you sing, and I'm like, that's not what I was feeling at all. But like, thank you. I'm happy you feel something because you could feel nothing. Yeah. But to me, it's all that love, and I'm so deep about it, which is also not a good thing for relationships, but very good for the stage.
Okay. And
did that answer your question? I feel like I went on a tangent.
No. I think you did.
Good.
But you did it so well that I forgot the next one.
Good. Hey, that's awesome. Hey, you felt the love.
Is it pain or is it love?
It's definitely love. You know what's funny? I don't have that much relationship with pain like that. Like, I mean, even to this day, like I just came from the doctor's office today, and I got a shot, and I'm sitting there like squimming like a kid in the chair, and the woman was like, "You're too old for this," This German lady. She's very German. She's very sweet. And she always gives me my shots because she thinks it's funny because I'm just like, in the chair. And she's like, you think that you would be better at pain at your age. And I'm like, I don't know pain like that. I avoid pain at all costs.
What about dentist?
Oh, God, don't even talk about it. To this day, when they took out my wisdom tooth, they were like, we want to do another surgery to put another tooth on the bottom. And I was like, sure. And they were like, can you make an appointment for next week? I was like, sure. That
and you
was
never did.
9 years ago.
What did you run away from?
pain.
No, being not that time, not in at the dentist. For when you were living America and deciding not to come back. What do you think about America now?
Okay, I guess we're getting real political today.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. It's so funny talking about this, just because like literally, I just lost an agent because of this conversation.
Really?
And I don't care. So I'm gonna be honest. Here's the thing about America, like. Everyone has a niche. Everyone has a clique. Everyone has a place to be. And in that place to be, there is love, there is kindness. And even beyond that clique, there is also still love and kindness. But there is also a wall that people don't want to cross. You know, I'm just going to say it and be honest completely. It was the 4th time that I got pulled over by a cop or like had a gun into my face that I was like, they're going to kill me. And you see me now, I'm a big teddy bear. Like, I'm not joking. Love is my love language. And I try to give it to everybody that I meet as much as I possibly can with also leaving a little bit for myself. But every time one of them pulled me over, like absolutely respectful. I mean, even when they were a little bit more aggressive, like no problem. I understand that your job as a cop is difficult. You never know who you're going to pull over and what their intentions are towards you. And let's be truthful, there is such a fear when it comes to African Americans in America.
Yeah.
And I understand the fear too. Like if my people were so rude and destructive to your people for hundreds of years, I would be sitting around waiting for you to have your revenge. And if we're going to talk about racism, period, I'm going to tell you that that's the pinpoint. I think to me, when it comes to, I'm going to call it not popular, majority Americans instead of white Americans, because it's not just white people. But the majority or the main majority of America, they look at black people and they're waiting for us to explode or get our revenge. I think it's why they are afraid of, refugees coming in. They're afraid of being outnumbered because they feel, I think, that when they are outnumbered, they're going to get the treatment that they feel that they deserve. The thing that always amazed me about that is they didn't look at black people. We're not those people. Like, there's no country that you go to except for sometimes in Africa with their own people. We're not the revenge type. We don't sit there and lay revenge down in long terms. Like, okay, 20 years from now we're going to get them. As soon as we have this, we're going to do this. We don't do that. But I do feel like the majority in America are waiting for that to happen. So they look at us in fear, like, because they feel like they deserve it. But the problem with America in that situation is you're letting your guilt create a fear that's killing us. And I mean, literally on the 4th time that a gun was drawn on me, I was like...
You mean you were stopped by police and stuff like that?
No, not just stopped, like actual guns withdrawn. One of them was for, they said I was speeding, which I wasn't. I had my cruise control on, which, like, no offense. If you grew up black in America, there's certain things you know to do. You do. You stop at the stop signs. You put on your cruise control so you're not speeding. You check your brake lights to make sure that they're not broken before you get out on the road. It's maybe sad, but like this is what we know to do. But the last time they were looking for a guy, and this was in New York, and it was so funny because I had just got through hearing some wonderful news from my agent, and my old agent, sorry, this was Gary Krasny. I had gotten a final callback for a movie with Sarah Jessica Parker. So, so I'm sitting there walking down the street. I was like, I'm going to work with Sarah Jessica Parker. Like, this is like my career is made in my mind. And it was the second lead. So I was like, this is big time. Like, I could count the dollars. I'm like, I'm buying my mom a house. Like, this is what's going on in my mind. Yeah. And I got to 125th Street right in Harlem, right off Broadway. And I hear, stop, get on the ground. And I'm oblivious. I'm like, sure, they can't be mean me. I'm not, why would they pull me over? This is crazy. And then I felt the arm and the gun in my face. And I was like, okay. And they were like, well, you look like a description of someone who robbed a store. And I'm like, a big black man in a suit robbed a store? Because I was wearing literally a suit. And they were like, yeah, it was you. And you need to, like, tell us that you did it and we're going to take you in. And I was like, I can't tell you I did it. I don't know what you're talking about. And literally at the same time, he got a call. I don't know from who. And I guess they had caught the guy and they let me go. And like, because I'm curious, I also like looked up in the story. I was like, I want to find out what it was. So it turns out that this Puerto Rican guy, he was 5'6", and he was very light skinned, had robbed a store. And I'm sure you can see me.
Yeah.
I'm 6'1", very dark skinned, and I'm like, what do you mean my description? Like, that guy doesn't sound anything like me. And I think in my heart, also God was kind of telling me a little bit like, I've shown you a place that's better. Get out. Before you can't get out. And so I guess if you're going to say I was running for something, I didn't want to die in America. I still don't. Like, even to this day, I told my mom, if I die, don't ask them to bring my body back there. Like, don't scatter an ash, not a tooth, not a nail. I don't want any part of me to be buried in America. Like, I got away. Don't ever take me back. And that kind of messed her up because, you know, she wanted us to be buried together. But I'm like, hey, well, then you need to buy your plot here in Germany, because it's like, yo, I'm not joking. I'm not going back. And I do go back because my mom is there, and my sister, and my niece, and my nephews, who I love. But
how often do you go there?
I go once a year, but it's never to go. It's always to take my mother on a vacation. My mother and my aunt. Like, the one thing I promised myself when I was a kid was, like, you know, watching my mother suffer and like work 4 jobs to try to feed us, me and my sister. I promised that she was going to live a life. I was like, you know, my father died never leaving America. He never saw another coast. If it wasn't Texas or Louisiana, he had never left it. And I was like, that's not going to be my mom's story. My mom's going to be able to see the world. You know, she might decide to stay in America, but she's going to know what other cultures are like, and she's going to be able to travel, and she deserves it. So every year I try to go. Or no, I don't try to go. I do go. And I take my mom on a vacation, whether it's to France or a cruise or whatever she wants to do. Our next one is Spain. She wants to go to Canary Islands. You know, so that's when I go back. I go back because she won't fly on her own. So I actually have to go to America to get on a plane with her to go to wherever we're going, which is hard for me because, like, I'm in Europe now, and I'm like, but it would just be 2 hours that way. And now I have to go all the way to Texas to grab you to get on another plane to go to this place. But, you know, it's my mom.
Yeah. Okay. And
that's a long story. I feel like all my stories are long.
Good. I'm here to listen.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. Because it sounds like I'm talking a lot.
So, what? Okay. What about social justice movement in the U.S. now? For how does it sound to you? Is it when it appeared, it was for you like, yeah, finally, or well, it will be dangerous, it will be rough. What do you think about it?
I mean, I would love to talk about actually the social justice here as well, but like the thing to me about America, and I just wrote a post about this on Facebook. I guess is what's make it funny. No one's listening to anyone else. And this is the problem with trying to get anything fixed is there's no communication. Like, I think my post literally said, because, you know, they're talking about all this cancel culture now. Everyone's like, I'm afraid to say what I'm going to say. I'm going to be out of a job and stuff like that. I'm like, well, you know what? You started cancel culture like we didn't. Like, what do you mean? There's no one who was oppressed who asked you to cancel anybody. You know, I mean, even with the Meghan Markle thing and Piers and quitting his job, like, who asked you to do that? Like this, they stopped making the Dr. Seuss books, and they're like, okay, are you guys happy now? And I'm like, well, I didn't ask you to cancel Dr. Seuss.
What's Dr. Seuss?
Dr. Seuss is this children's book that all of us in America grew up with. You guys have like Pippi Longstockings here, yeah?
Yeah.
Or yeah. So Dr. Seuss was our children's book that everyone read. There's not a child in America who hasn't read Dr. Seuss. I don't care when you grew up. But the thing is, there's one Dr. Seuss book that actually has a group of black people and says the N-word. It says, you know, throw some the N-word on the fire. And that literally is one of his rhymes, is rhyming the N-word and throwing us on fire like logs. And then you see the little black people in the aisle with the red lips and the smiling faces. And so they decided for themselves, because they wanted to, I guess, to stop making that book. And because people don't read, all they heard was Dr. Seuss canceled. And they're like, oh, they're canceling Dr. Seuss now. This is going too far.
But they canceled just this one.
Just the one book.
Part.
Or
yeah,
actually,
like
they canceled a few books, like 6 books, because one of them was against Asians. One of them was against, you know, there's so many people that they discriminated against because that was the trend of the time. Like, it's funny to make fun of the minorities. But the thing about it is, and I was talking about it because they just canceled Pepe Le Pew, which is Looney Tunes, which is a cartoon that all kids grew up with.
Yeah.
And it's the cartoon where like this black skunk takes this black cat and like even though the cat,
I remember this one. Yeah.
So she's basically saying no the whole time, and he's like,
Yeah.
yes, you're going to take it no matter what. So they canceled that because of the sexist issues.
Yeah.
And now they're mad at women. They're like, well, everything is just being canceled. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. Women asked you to please keep your sons from raping them. Mm-hmm. Please keep your son from walking behind me when I'm going home and making me feel unsafe. Please stop your sons from beating us. And they're like, well, you should be happy. We canceled Pepe Le Pew. Women didn't ask you for that. They asked you to teach your sons to stop raping them. They asked you to stop trying to take control over their bodies. You deciding whether they can have children or not. And you canceled Pepe Le Pew? Like women probably, and I never want to speak for them specifically because they have their own voices. Women would be fine probably keeping Pepe Le Pew if you could keep your son from being a rapist. Yeah. Black people would be fine with Dr. Seuss if you could keep the cops from killing us. Asian people would probably be okay with Dr. Seuss if you can keep your people from having a bad day and shooting up massage parlors. Like, you guys are canceling everything that no one has asked you to do. We're asking you to cancel racism. We're asking you to cancel sexism. We're asking you to cancel transphobias. We're asking you to do a lot of things, but you keep giving us little scraps. Like, okay, you don't like racism, no problem. We got rid of one book. You don't like sexism, no problem. We got rid of a cartoon. You don't like transphobia, no problem. We will give you a bathroom.
What do you know people who are, for example, in some this or another minority, like Black Americans or like from I don't know any kind of minority, and they are conservative and against, for example, this cancel culture and social justice, and they are afraid of it, that it will just mine their tradition and worldview?
I do. I try, like I said, love is my love language, so I try not to cancel anybody. Yeah. I think that everyone can be touched, and more importantly, I feel like the more of something you know, the less you are afraid of it. So I do know those people, but like my conversations with them are the same. Like even if it's a fellow, I have a lot of very conservative Black friends as well, because of where I went to college and things. And my conversation is the same with them. Like, like, are you upset about Dr. Seuss? You've done 5 posts about Dr. Seuss. But when they killed Sandra in her bed, you were quiet. So, and to me, the thing that upsets me most is you guys are more upset about canceling a cartoon animal than you are about people. And I do feel like that's a problem in America. Like, you see a sick dog on the street, these people will give you their rent money trying to get this dog all the medical equipment that he needs. And God bless that, because, for me, the Christianity in me tells me they were put here on this earth for us to take care of them. I appreciate that. But when you can look at your fellow human and say other, but you can look at a dog, which is other, and say help. So, I mean, yes, I do have those friends, but it's kind of like that's where our understanding stops always. It's like, I don't agree. And then I'm like, I can't agree. It's not that I don't agree. I can't agree. And then we just try to talk about other subjects, and we try to stay away from those things. But hopefully the world is changing, man. Like, I guess, I don't know, maybe it's because of me. I like to look at the world with those, red sunglasses or glasses or whatever. I see some great things happening in America, and there are always going to be some opposition. So that's what I see. But let's talk about it here. Like, no offense, like, I love America, but I'm not there anymore. Like, what do you know about the social justice stuff here?
Here in Berlin?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, no one does, and I think that it's
no.
Really...
I don't think so. I think this is a play. Actually, I will say
yes.
I'll tell you something different. I think, like, comparing to Poland or half of countries in Europe, I mean mostly southern eastern countries, Central Europe, post-communistic countries. Berlin is like an oasis of freedom, justice, especially for LGBT people, people from difficult or poor background. It's like comparing, for example, to Poland, even not regarding last years in Poland, that everything went right and conservative and everything. I think like, for example, Poland was a country that went through a very brutal 10, 15 years of early capitalism in 90s, where people were really sacked, like mistreated, and there was no help from the government. That's a kind of untold story of these countries. I think, like Poland, Eastern Germany, also probably. So when I travel to Western Europe and when I talk with people in Berlin, that's the first thing I'm thinking about. It's like these are the countries that people are used to be helped by the government, society, by other people. Yeah. In our countries, not. People are used to be mistreated. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I 100% agree with you. Like, you said it correctly to me. Berlin is an oasis. Yeah. But the thing about oasis, there are always bad sand, no matter where you go.
Yeah. So, what's the bet?
Well, I mean, to me, let's even just talk about this. The whole thing with this COVID. Like, I have some Turkish friends of mine. Like, no offense, not everyone has a television.
I don't
have. Neither do I. Like, no offense. Like, if it hadn't been like I read German newspapers mainly to work on my German, but also like to keep informed. But like I have some Turkish friends here who, when the COVID thing first started, like at this point, it's in April, and they're on the trains, no mask. Trains, no mask. I want to make sure I said that right. No one has told them anything about it. And I'm like, well, what's going on? Like, you're not scared of COVID? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, dude, like, there's a deadly disease running around the world. How could you not know? There's no outreach to the border communities, to me, in Berlin sometimes, especially like even with the refugees, like, especially when those refugees camps are run by the German government, from my understanding. I'm only speaking from what I've read in the newspaper, so I'm not an expert. You would have thought that they would have been the first ones to be like, mask up, let's get the meters distance. They weren't. They had to be told, just like everyone else. But it was.
You think they're not told, or maybe they just don't want to?
Oh no! I mean, there also is some people who will not want to. Like, no offense, like you can't make everyone do anything. But because of the amount of people there were, and maybe it's just like, it could also be because of the people who I know, that I feel like I found out, and like all of a sudden, all my friends in April, May, have you heard about COVID? And I'm like, where have you been? Like, no offense, like this is almost 5. I mean, when did it come here big time? Like around end of February, March. I'm like, that's 2 months that you have been risking your life because you don't read the newspaper, because you don't have a television. All the major ways that Germany was using to get out information about this disease. It just wasn't there.
Yeah, but what? So you think that's the fault of the government? Like,
I think that there are some outlined areas in Berlin that are just a little bit neglected.
Ghettos.
Well, I don't want to say ghettos because I don't believe in that word necessarily, but I will say like every country protects its own. Let's just be truthful.
Yeah.
Every country protects its own. And I feel like Germany did what it did to protect its people. But because of how we push these others aside, they were left out of the information loop, from what I'm being told. Like now, if someone has some other information, please, I love it. Contact me. I love to get it.
I wonder how could they be left out?
I mean, why not send someone? I mean, they have all these Bergamts and everything else, all these different official offices. Why not send them out?
A letter.
Yeah, I mean, sure, possibly a letter, but like, no offense, if you send a letter to some of these refugees coming here in German, how would they read it? They don't know the language. Was a pamphlet sent out in their language so that they can understand it? I haven't heard of it. I mean, not to say that it doesn't exist, but I haven't heard of it. And also there's a lot of Turkish communities here, and they are very to themselves, like very Turkish minded. They don't speak German. Although, some of the Germans might be upset about that because you've been in this country for how many years and you don't speak German, whatever. You needed a pamphlet. If you're going to send things by mail, a pamphlet for all the languages that you know. Did you receive a pamphlet about it?
No.
Neither did I.
But I think some people are starting to get the letters already regarding vaccination.
For sure. Also, in what language?
Yeah, but I understand your point.
Yeah.
But knowing, no offense, knowing Germans, I don't think that they have this point of view. Yeah, probably they have this approach that if you live here, you need to take care of your information. Like not knowing the law doesn't free you from obeying the law. Yeah,
I completely agree with you. And if we're talking about the law, 100%. No matter where you go, you need to make sure that the law is understood by you. But we're not talking about a law. We're talking about a deadly pandemic. And more importantly, that would make the assumption that if you don't speak this language, then you deserve to get sick. And I would like to think that the Germans that I have come to love with my whole heart aren't those people. And also, this isn't the kind of disease where it can be like, oh, you caught it, your deal. It's that kind of disease where, oh, you caught it, you're on the subway next to me. I caught it. I sit at home. I'm at home with my husband and my children. They've caught it. Thank God we didn't have a really, I don't want to say deadly strain, because any death from any disease is too many. But like the one they had in Italy, that whatever that strand was, that was just wiping people out. It seems like Germany didn't really have that when our numbers aren't as high as some of the other bigger nations. I don't know if that is because Angela Merkel shut that down, she shut us down.
I think this country works quite well.
Yeah.
And they just do their job. When I had a positive coronavirus test, I had the phone. My friend, who is a doctor here in Germany, he told me that they should call you, but probably they won't because they have too much work.
Yeah.
So you go on you should go on the quarantine, blah blah blah. And they called me next day.
Yeah.
And this is amazing comparing to the number of cases they have. How this country is just big.
Yeah, I agree with
comparably big. Like in Poland, you won't get this kind of phone,
Yeah.
I think in most of countries you won't get this kind of call, and in most of the countries you won't get any help from government.
Yeah, I agree. Please don't take what I'm saying to say that this country isn't great.
No. Just
because I'm being honest with you.
I'm just saying what I observe here. Yeah.
No, that's great. Yeah. But I mean, truthfully, I really do think this is one of the greatest countries in the world.
Yeah.
Not like what Americans say. This is the greatest country in the world. They've never been anywhere. I have been all over the world, and I can tell you, this is one of, if not one of the top 2 greatest countries in the world.
Yeah.
Not joking.
We're lucky, huh?
Absolutely lucky. Every single day. It's, especially with some of my friends, they want to be on hard German kicks. But the Germans do this. Oh, but the Germans do. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah.
You could let them do it. If that's their one thing, I'd give it to them. I would even give them a couple of hours out of my day. Go ahead and do that thing. Whatever that thing is that annoys people, do it, enjoy it. Yeah. Because I do think it's the greatest country in the world. But because I think it's one of the greatest countries in the world.
It's an obligation, yeah.
I think that now we have to hold ourselves up to the higher standard. Yeah. It's the same thing with us as singers. I don't care how good of a singer you are. It's always yeah, but I can do better.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm ready for the Germans to do. As, I say Germans, I mean more like the government. You're great. Let's be greater. I want there not to be a top 2 for me that goes like this. I want it to be Germany, the rest. That's how, because this is where I am. And that's kind of also what I try to fight for, working with some of the, people of color organizations here, trying to see if we can at least bring to light some of these situations. And it's very easy to me for people to be like, oh, but we do so much things great. Wonderful. Love that. Have no complaints. What about these things? Can we do some things with this? I know we can. Let's do it.
What kind of people of color groups you're working?
So I'm working with this guy. His name is Smiley, and we started it right before the big protest in Alexanderplatz that we went to. His idea was that there was these, there's all these groups, people of color groups. And now, of course, there's the Black Lives Matter groups here. There's the Each One Teach One. Schwarzenegger here, and there's so many others, and I'm so sorry I don't remember your names. This sounds bad, but I have it written down. But what he wanted to do was, like, right now they're all separate entities, like, and they all have their different goals, but there was no direct communication. And so what we did was we set up a meeting for them all to come together, tell us what their plans was, tell them what their grievances were, and try to set up a line of connection between all of them. Because whenever you get a bunch of people working together for one common cause, the quicker it gets done. And that's what we've been trying to do. It's slow. It's very hard to get strong, opinionated people to be like, can you relax on this issue and focus on this issue? Especially if that issue was their main call to fame. Like, we want this. And you're like, yeah, we want it too. Give us a moment. Let's work on this, and then we can get to this.
What kind of people are there in these groups? They're mainly incomers or people that grew up in Germany being colored?
For sure. I mean, to be truthful with you, me and Smiley and a few others, maybe about 2 or 3 others, are the only ones that came here as, Auslanders. The rest of them are Afro-German or Latino-German or, different Turkish and German mixes, but although that's German, So it's all these different races that are trying to come together and do better things for their community, like things that they're seeing that, maybe the other Germans don't because they're not presented with it,
Okay, but it's mainly like different color of skin or like Turkish, not like, I don't know, Romanians, Poles.
No,
okay.
That's actually a really good point. I mean, are you actually a citizen here, or are you just like an Auslander like myself?
Citizen? No,
Yeah.
I'm Auslander.
Okay.
I'm Polish citizen.
Do you have problems with the German government, or is everything great for you guys?
No, we don't have problems.
Yeah, that's great. Great.
I mean, maybe we will have some problems, but
Okay.
but not. We are, as European Union citizens, we are more or less safe. Yeah.
Good.
Like
That's
compared to my friends from US or people who needs visa from Ukraine, Belarus, all this stuff. That's much more complicated. Or Southern America.
For sure.
Even like if they're completely fine with everything, have a good job, that's the problem. Yeah, but these are kind of problems I've heard about.
So we don't need to find your representation. You're good. That's great. I mean, that's great. Like, I mean, there's so many of those stories too, which is what makes this country so absolutely amazing. They're doing so many things right, so many things right. But sometimes you do need someone to be like, okay, but that little corner, like it's like when you're dusting your house and you see that one cobweb, and it's like, but the whole house is clean. But I'm gonna leave it alone. No, let's clean that cobweb. Let's get this whole house sparkling. And it's so close. And to me, I think also because this is the kind of country that I wanted America to be, I want it to be so sparkling that those American lawyers, which everyone is nowadays in America, I feel like we all have lawyer degrees because we watch Law and Order. They're ready to pick apart everything that's wrong with Germany. And I want to make sure that when they do start picking things apart, they're like, you found nothing, didn't you? Great, because we've been cleaning
Okay,
cobwebs.
but then what you miss in America that you find here?
Huh? I missed something from America?
No. Like when you are in America, what's wrong? That you find here great, right?
Everything.
On place.
Everything.
No.
I mean, like no joking.
Really?
Everything. I mean, that's an impossible list to say. I think
Okay.
What wouldn't I say? The people, the culture, the acceptance.
You think people here are like more cheerful or open? You think so?
In their way. Like, I mean, like, let's be truthful. Like, you go up to a random German on the street and start to have a conversation, they're going to look at you like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Because that's not in their culture.
Yeah.
But the moment that you get inside a German person's heart, they're going to love you for life. It doesn't even matter what you do. Like, I don't want to call it a depression, but like, I had some bad times here in Germany, not because of German society, but because like work things weren't working out. And because at that point my visa says I was only a singer and I wasn't being able to find gigs. So I was struggling. And because I was struggling, like I pushed everybody I knew away. And I mean, like at that point I had made some really good relationships with Germans that were here and some other cultures that were here as well. And I pushed them all away. When I opened back up and became a human again, the first people back were the Germans because they had learned to love me, and it didn't matter that I needed a moment to myself. They were like, well, as soon as Ray gets okay, he's coming back. And that's exactly what happened. I was like, hi, guys. Hey, Ray, coming. And it wasn't even a question. Like, whereas some of my African-American friends that live here, when I came out of my depression, they were like, oh, so you ready to not stop acting funny now? And I'm like, yes. So you had to humbly apologize to them, where the Germans were like, we forgive you. It's cool. Absolutely. Have you not found the same thing? Like, the Germans are such lovely people.
I don't know, maybe I'm from different place towards Germany. I'm from Poland.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Poles are quite similar to Germans in a way. Like, they would hate to hear that in Poland.
Yeah.
Because they think that they are so different. But I think Poles and Germans are having much more in common than with, I don't know, English or French people, even not even talking with Americans. Yeah. So I think it's a bit similar culture of cold country. People are quite distanced, and they need a lot of time to open and relax and have fun. And I think maybe Poles are a bit more like, they have a bit more of this kind of fantasy to cheerfulness, and they're a bit more warm.
Yeah.
Like, they're a bit more like southern people but they don't drink wine and eat olives, but vodka and herring.
I'm like, shut up. Get you some wine and some olives. No, I get that. That's great. I don't know. I don't have that experience. Yeah. And I also will say that as a Black person, like, and also an American, there is something that innates people towards me when it comes to like the German society, because they were raised on our entertainment. Although that can be also a trick. There's only so many times that you can watch Captain America save the world and not also think that maybe Americans are wonderful people. So when I came here, I get the whole like, oh, he comes from Captain America land, or all those movies from New York, and they're like, oh, he lived in New York. Oh, he's a great guy. We know it. Yeah. So like, even if I wasn't a great guy, I do kind of feel like I would slip in some of the Germans' hearts. Like, they're like, he's from New York, he's American, he's Black, great, and he's a singer. And also, he's respecting our culture. Like, he's trying to learn this language, even though I butcher it. Sorry. They know that I'm being respectful, so that they take me on a lot easier.
Yeah. I think it's the case in most of countries, like around here.
Yeah.
In Poland, it would be even more.
Really?
Of course. I can take you to places that you'll be loved.
Yeah.
Twice as much.
I will say that me and the Catholic Church and its doctrine might not get along so well.
Yeah,
so I
that's
don't know.
The same with many people in Poland, don't worry.
But I do find in Europe, or it's not in Europe necessarily, but just around this area in the world, no matter how religious you are, you guys don't like to talk about it. So maybe we'd be fine in Poland. Like, they would, like no one would be like, I'm Catholic, and we wouldn't have those conversations. It would be something we avoided.
No, Polish Catholicism is very, I don't know if it's about, I think it's Polish Catholicism, because maybe it's the same in Ireland. Because in Poland, Catholicism was for many years connected with nationality. Like, if you were, like, being Catholic was also a way to resist the oppressors. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so sad. I don't know anything about Poland, and I need to work on that.
It's just, like in Ireland, like British, like English people were Protestant.
Yeah, so they became Catholic too.
Irish were Catholic, so there was this tension. And in Poland, the same, like Germans who occupied the country for more than 100 years were Protestant, and Russian people were Orthodox. And so there was this opposition, yeah. But Polish people are Catholics, but they're not really religious. They have this artificial, magical kind of religiousness,
Yeah.
So you think that everyone is Catholic, but it's not true. I think it's like, officially it's like 80, 90 people. The truth is that I think it's 30 people, because most of them, they're just like, they are Catholics but non-practitioners.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is that?
I don't know. Which is, well, I mean, we've all been to that one church where you're like, if this is it, I'm not into it. Like, so maybe that's the experience for them. I don't know. I would be very, very interested to find out. Like, so I love talking about religions, because like I did so much research into it. Like, my father wanted me to be a pastor, like, and I was very, very close to being one. But like, I had such problems with so many Christians in America, and I was like, I don't think that could be a true religion. So I went and researched the other ones. I was like, I'm gonna be Buddhist. I'm done with with Christianity, and then like went from Buddhist. I was like, okay, I can't be a Buddhist. They're a little two-piece. They're a little too. I'm too much for them. Let's go ahead and go to Muslim. I said, okay, And so I went from all these different religions, trying to find one that fit my soul. And that brought me, of course, back. Well, not of course, but back to Christianity. But then it became such a loose thing. Like to me, yes, I do read my Bible. I'm very into it. Like I love it. It's a great book. But to me, it's all about that relationship. And the moment you got me on relationship, you got me. Period. And that's period, because that's what we do as performers. Like right, like when I'm up on a stage and I have that mic in my hand, like it's not about me. It's not about even the applause. Like thank you, Lady Gaga, you ruined my life. Only with that song. Otherwise, I love you. But to me, like I'm looking at you and you're looking at me, and I'm trying to see if like even from this distance, or no matter how many thousands of people are up there, I'm like, can I connect with you? Like, can we find something in this connection? Even though I'm the one doing the talking and you're the one who's doing the watching. And I love it when you can feel it. And there's something about, not that I can say that the whole 20,000 people or 30,000 people or whoever connected with me, but there is something about when you're singing and the audience does this little, and it's like, shoot, you're here, you're with me, you're connecting to what I'm saying.
You're in the flow.
And that's how I feel about religion. To me, that's what it is to me. Like it doesn't happen every day, and Jesus isn't talking to me in the street saying, "Oh, you got to do this," that kind of thing. But there's every once in a while when I feel like I'm in connection with Him, and we can move and talk together. And I feel it every time I'm not every time. I'm not gonna lie. I feel it most of the time that I'm on a stage. Sometimes it's just a job.
What does it mean for you?
Being a performer?
No, Jesus.
What do you mean?
Yeah, what does it mean for you? Like, what's this energy?
What does it mean? I don't know that. I don't know how to answer that. What does it mean for me? To be truthful with you, he's just a savior to me. Like he's just a friend that just happens to be powerful at something that I'm not.
And what's the difference between Jesus and God?
To me, there isn't one.
There isn't one.
No,
okay.
no.
So Jesus is just a name. It's just a label for something. You're not sure, not quite sure what's there.
Yeah, it's just like a name for an aspect of a personality. Okay. Like when Beyonce came out with her song, that fourth album of hers, that's like I Am Sasha Fierce. Do you know that?
No. I'm not really into this kind of pop.
Interview over. No, I'm joking. What she did, and it was all about this alter ego of hers, and she just happens to give it a name, and she called it Sasha Fierce. To me, that's what God is to me. Jesus is an aspect that of God that came down to save us, but He also has other names: Elohim, El Shaddai, Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Nisi. There's so many different names.
So Jesus is like you have a connection because of your upbringing, like your past, everything you've heard from your father in the church, blah blah blah, and then you went back to that, but you could name it other way, yeah.
Yeah, I mean honestly, and this may not be popular with other Christians, the God that I serve, or the God that I connect with, I felt Him when I was studying the Buddhist religions. I felt Him when I was studying the Muslim religions. I felt Him when I was studying Hinduism. Like I really. Truly started feeling God in all these places. It didn't feel a difference to me. And I'm also not one of those Christians who believe like, oh, they don't believe in this thing that I believe in, they're going to hell. I'm sorry. I studied too many religions to believe that my God isn't also there. Like you just decided to call Him a different name. If you want to call Him Muhammad, call Him Muhammad. I don't care. I think that's me ringing. I hope that's it. You want me to turn it off? Because I have a long ring. Or let it go.
You can let it go.
Okay. I don't care what you call Him. It's more about, do you have a relationship with something bigger than yourself?
Or maybe it's God. Maybe it's...
Oh, God calling me? No, He doesn't have this number. He has the direct line. No, I don't care what you call Him.
Did you have some experience that you'd call spiritual, or some change?
Every day.
Not this kind of change, just like some crucial change. Like you were somewhere different. Like you were someone different in a way that you were. After that, your heart opened, or something like that.
Every day.
Every day.
I'm not joking. Like every single day. But the way I say it to my friends is, like, my friends know not to call me in the morning. do not call me before 10 o'clock.
What do you do?
Before 10 o'clock, I'm a different person. I have not connected with anything. And I wake up angry that I'm waking up, angry that, whatever isn't accomplished. Between whenever I wake up, 8 and 10, like that's when I have my doubt moments. That's when I have literally almost it feels like a mini depression. Like I just wake up and I'm like, this is crap. Like I'm 37 years old. I'm still trying to make it as a performer. I have right now on my computer, on my DAW, on my Albertson, I have 110 songs. And I'm like, God, is anyone going to hear them but me? Like I'm getting sick of working on them. I'm getting sick of mixing and mastering them. I don't want to EQ another song. I'm like, is it just going to be me? So like literally from 8 to 10, like I have those kind of moments. Or like I'm still single. I'm like, okay, I am 37 years old. And the last real relation I had, I was 21. And that person told me that they didn't even think that we were in a relationship. So I'm like, that means that I have never had a serious relationship. I am 37. So I literally from 8 to 10 is when I have those kind of like, the world is crap moments. And then at 10 o'clock, I don't know what it is. Like maybe it's that when there's a sunlight beam in my room, whenever there's sun in Berlin, it comes through my window literally normally around 10 o'clock. And maybe my body's gotten used to it. And I'm like, God, it's great, man. Like, forget this. Like, who am I to complain? Like, man, my resume, although my finances doesn't say the same story, but my resume tells me that I've done a great job. That means that I can say that even if I died tomorrow, I've done good work. Like something in my song has connected with at least one person, hopefully made them feel like they could fight for something better. Or one performance is like, I'm like, at least there was 10 people in that audience that connected with this love that I'm trying to give, and maybe they'll carry it out the door. Like I literally could die tomorrow and be like, I've done good work. Yeah. And I think that comes at 10 o'clock. So that's why I'm not joking.
Every time at 10 o'clock?
Every time at 10 o'clock. It's like clockwork.
So you don't have to make any effort?
I don't think love...
Apart from just surviving until 10?
Oh, no. There's a lot of efforts.
Do you have some routine?
For sure. Absolutely. But I was a dancer, so I wake up every morning, I stretch. I used to say I did exercise every morning, but I don't do that. I'm not lying. COVID-19, have you heard it? Like, yeah. It's an eating disorder for me, not a disease. I'm joking to those who've gotten it. But yeah, absolutely. I stretch. I have my green smoothie. I literally take my moment to like meditate and talk to myself. And I write things down. Like if you read my journal and you spoke to me in the street, you would probably think like, who is this guy and who is this guy? Because my journal is all those bad things that come to me between 8 and 10 o'clock, and I just write them all down. And then after 10 o'clock, when I start to feel like, oh, actually life is pretty great, I go back and read through the list, and then I put the anti-answer for it. Like, Ray, 37, still a musician, no major contracts.
So you make kind of like you're rationalizing your fears and emotions, and you're writing them down and making like little quarrels there, like.
For sure, it's the crazy thing. I'm talking to myself, except I'm doing things writing, so I don't feel so crazy.
And what kind of meditation do you do?
Honestly, I just take a moment to. I don't care what kind of music it is, because I find spirituality in all music. I just turn on something that has nothing to do with me. Nothing that I've written, nothing that I have sung with other artists, just any type of music that doesn't have anything to do with me. And I think that kind of makes me get off of my own back. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Like you don't have this reference that you don't think, oh, could I sing that, or I did something like that, or it doesn't bring anything to you. Like
not at all.
It doesn't ring a bell.
It doesn't make me feel like I need to learn this song. I don't listen to anything that's in my voice range. Yeah. Anything that kind of might bring my mind back to an industry or to work.
But you do it with music. You use music to relax you.
Because music is love. Love is the language that I speak, for sure. But yeah, man. So meditation will change your life. But I also think it's very important that you write down any negative emotions that you do, because, like, no offense, like your brain, no matter how amazing our brains are, it still can't compartmentalize as well as writing. I'm so sorry, unless your brain is better than mine. The moment you write it down, you can actually read it and analyze it, where if it goes in your mind kind of does that little round and round thing. Like, okay, but it could be better, but it's still kind of stuff. The moment you write it down and start writing down, like, okay, for example, what my thing said this morning. Still waiting for a vaccine. How long? And then the anti-bit was, you've been in COVID this long. Negative. Congratulations. Not that you've done something great to not get COVID, but it's kind of like, so many people who've died. are you really upset that you haven't gotten a vaccine? Like, how shallow can you be?
You know so many people who died?
Yeah, man, America's killing them, man. And it seems to me there was this period where America was just like, oh, there's nothing wrong. You know, there's that president that I don't mention his name ever. But yeah, this is fake. Dr. Fauci is fake, and like all these performers, because we are performers, we're like, okay, we're gonna go to these shows with all this crowd, you know, and then they just start dropping like flies, you know. And then my aunt passed, and I was just like you know, it became too much. And then like also the suffering from those artists, like America can talk about whatever you want to talk about. Thank God they're getting these little stimulus checks that, you know, which makes us in Germany laugh at, you know, what they might have gotten $3,000 when I think Germany started off by giving the artists $5,000 or something to begin with. So like $3,000 for 2 years. Congratulations, America. Great job. But, you know, I'm watching all my friends.
This is how much they've got, yeah?
And not even everybody.
Yeah.
You know, they started off 1,800, I think, in April. Then they got 600, and now they're getting another 1,800. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But either way, it's shameful.
It's just a bit more than in Poland, but
That's shameful.
yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't necessarily expect you as a government to take care of its people like conclusively altogether. But I will say, if you are taking taxes from your people and your people are paying their taxes in hard times, come take care of them.
Yeah.
You know, but either way, but that's what I meant. I write down the negative and then I write down the positive for it once I'm in the better mood.
So, and that's all. That's your routine in the morning, and the rest of the day you just enjoy your life.
I'll brush my teeth, of course. And I try to wash my body every day as well. Although I will be honest, in COVID, you know, I might have gone 2, maybe 3 days without doing it.
Were you afraid of COVID?
Dude, I'm afraid of COVID now.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But not in like the death situation. I'm still young enough to believe that I won't die.
Yeah.
Don't ask me why. But also kind of like, I have a friend who got COVID, and this is one of the most amazing performers. I'm going to say her name. Her name is, oh God, I just had a brain fart. Wow. Give me a second. Alana Alexander. Sorry, I forgot your name, sweetie. I love you. She's one of the most amazing performers in the world. I probably shouldn't tell this story. I don't know if she's told everybody. Too late, I guess. Now it's gone out. Sorry, dear. But, you know, the one thing that she was telling me is that her lung capacity had changed.
Yeah.
Now, this is a big singer. Like, she is a big singer. So if she lose, you know, 40% of her lung capacity, she's still going to be an amazing singer. You know, you're not going to be able to say, like, oh, you know, now she's nothing. I am not that type of singer. If I lose 40% of my lung capacity, you can go ahead and wrap me up and call me a day. I won't be able to do it. Like, I'm already, even though I'm a powerful singer, my breathing technique is weak to begin with. Add on COVID and complications because of COVID that has to do with lungs. What would I do?
Yeah. Just don't think about it. It's just like,
What?
yeah, that's what I do.
It's everywhere. I get on the subway. Because of COVID, please wear your mask. On the doors, please make sure you're washing your hands after you touch this door. And I'm like,
Strange, you know. I don't have this kind of thoughts.
Yeah.
I could be afraid of that too. But I'm through. Yeah, I got it already in December.
you know, you can get it again.
I know, but I've read that it's in 80% it saves you for like 6 months,
Yeah.
something like that. So at least.
Yeah. So you feel like,
Well, I got through it once, so I'm like, okay, yeah. More or less,
I won't tell you why you should be afraid. So that's
Tell
great.
me.
No.
Tell me, come on.
No.
Be my doctor.
Well, there's all these different strands now, man. Like, no offense, like you were right. That article was absolutely right. I don't know if it was 80%, but it's absolutely right that, you know, that once you got it, you do hold some immunity, but that's only to that one strand. So, for example, you understand that the strand that's here is not the same strand that's in America or the dominant strand. Someone from America comes here with this strand.
I also have different way of thinking about it, because I just know that I'm immune
to the strand.
No, just I'm immune to viruses and diseases. Like, I'm taking care of my immunity since many years.
Okay.
I used to be weak.
Okay.
I used to be ill, like having colds, different kind of colds and viruses every year, like 4 times, or 3 times, and often badly. Like I couldn't sing, I had to cancel gigs and stuff like that. And then I just, I changed some habits and I started this Wim Hof method practice, and I eat well, and I feel immune.
Good.
And when I think about something like flu or like strange new virus, which is the coronavirus, and I got it once and it was fine, and like, yeah. So now I'm like, maybe I'm stupid, but I think it's better for me to think like that.
It's also optimism. Like, I don't know how religious you are, but I would call that faith. Absolutely. Like you have faith that whatever you're doing is going to keep you protected, and I think that's an amazing thing. So I'm not going to take your faith away from you. I'm going to say, good for it.
Yeah.
I don't have it.
No,
I don't have it.
You should have it.
I'm going to work on it. We'll have a conversation about it later. No, honestly, I'm keeping myself separate to keep myself safe. But I'm not that person who needs people like that. Like, I need to talk to you. I need to see your face. But like, we live in a marvelous age. Like, I can literally FaceTime anyone I want to, anywhere in the world. Well, some places we won't mention here that can't have access to FaceTime. But yeah, most of the world I can FaceTime, and I feel fine with that. I don't actually need to have the person-to-person, mainly because we're performers. Like, that's our lives. And this whole idea of missing, like, the club scenes and stuff like that, like, no offense, like, whenever I go into a club, it feels like work, and I become Ray, like, like, hey, I'm on now, like, this is professional Ray, like, and even if I'm not performing, like, I went to Berkheim once, and you could tell that the people were like, you are not supposed to be here, because I was giving out business cards, and I was like, Ray, you didn't actually come here to work, did you? I was like, literally, because they were like, oh, I love this music. I was like, I have something that's just like that, Because the moment I went into a club, my mind went, oh, opportunity. Here, hey, you need somebody, went to the DJ. Hey, DJ, how you doing? I love that. Here's my record.
It's very American, huh?
I hate it. I hate everything about it, because I can never just go to someplace and like, relax. A friend of mine is Keith Tynes, great American singer. He used to sing with the Planters. Do you know them?
No.
Only you.
Oh,
yeah,
them.
Okay. He literally carries around flyers, or he did before COVID, flyers in his pocket. So whenever we were out, like, he'd be like, oh, hey, I love you. Come to my show. It's such an American thing to do, but like, we also have to do that here, like, because they don't differentiate us. Like, it's different here. In America, I felt like I was a dime a dozen. Like, like, literally, they were like, and not only did I feel that way, they told me, like, oh, hey, yeah, we're hiring you, but don't get a big head. Like, we can get anybody.
Yeah, a lot of race there.
for sure, in any race, and they weren't wrong. Like, if you're talking about just singing and only put me in that box and take away what I do on the stage, then they weren't wrong. Like, they could find a million ways. But I'd like to think that I bring more than just vocality to a stage.
Oh, sure.
Maybe, I don't know. But over here, like, it becomes different. Not because they think that you are a dime a dozen, but it's kind of like their first instinct is they love to see Black people on their screen or in their shows or whatever. They just don't think about what we're bringing to the table. And,
here.
Yeah, at all.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, oh, and I say this and I feel guilty saying it because I've benefited from it as well. People have literally seen me and was like, you're a singer. And I'm like, yes, I am. They were like, I have a gig for you. And I'm like, you don't want to hear me sing? And they're like, no, it's fine.
It's enough.
Yeah, I'm not joking with you.
Yeah,
like, I've literally have gotten gigs that way.
Yeah,
I mean, before I had an agent, before I had any material, although now I'm back there, no agent, no material. Literally saw me on the street. And that's how I got one of my first gigs here in Berlin, period. They were like, oh, my God, you're a singer. Yeah. What are you doing Friday? I'm like, nothing. They're like, you're performing at my bar. That was the artist bar over there in, Schöneberg, sorry. And that was my first gig. And they hired me for weeks without ever hearing me sing a thing.
Yeah.
Now, thank God, once they heard it, they were like, you're actually really great. I'm like, thank you. That was scary. I was hoping that you were going to tell me something, because otherwise I was like, is everyone going to hire me and not care what I sound like? But then, like, the longer you stay here, that becomes a problem, because then, like, you get this idea that, like, oh, that's how people of color are hired, and this is the fee that we pay them. And I'm like, that's great, but I am a good singer. Here, someone might call me a great singer. You don't want to pat yourself too much on the back. You can't pay me that anymore.
Yeah.
You paid me that when I moved here 10 years ago, and I was thankful because I didn't deserve it then, but now I deserve much, much more. And I get a lot of the, oh, well, this person will work for that. And I'm like, hire them. So yeah, it's such a different things, but yeah.
you're more like, if I can say, hanging on this market here in Berlin and Germany, or rather this market over there?
Oh, this market over here for sure.
Yeah.
Like the Ray in America was musical theater. They don't know me as anything else. Well, musical theater and blues. It would shock them to see some of my shows here, period, because I didn't do that there. Like, I was going to be the next musical theater star.
Yeah.
And that's all they know. And I would actually tell people, oh, no, I don't sing that. Yeah. Like, don't bring me that. Like, there was this concert, and it was with Audrey McDonald, who you probably don't know, but she's a big, she was an opera trainee, but became a really big musical theater star. And they were like, oh, and we're setting up all these new and coming possible Broadway stars, and they're all going to be singing like operatic. And I was like, no. I was like, I don't do that. I said, call me when it's a musical. So they wouldn't know this Ray at all.
So your dream was to be like a star on Broadway?
For sure.
Musical theater.
Yeah, and got real close, and it scared the shh out of me.
Why? What happened?
The first time that you get a fan to come to you who knows more about you than you know about yourself, it's scary. And at that point, I was the understudy for Big River. Like, it was a national tour, and I get that. Like, that's great. I was young, and I was so lucky to be a part of that product.
What's Big River?
Big River is the Huckleberry Finn musical. Yeah. So, I mean, it was, and at that point...
and it's a kind of big show that goes around America?
Yeah,
okay.
Huge show.
Okay.
And they had just put in, this is the first time they had ever done it in America. Deaf people were in the actual show. So there was times in the show where you would literally see mouths moving and hands going, but no one was singing. And the idea of not the idea of the show, but the preface behind it was like, can you imagine that there are deaf people in the audience with you right now that don't even know that they've stopped singing? Yeah. And it was very, very powerful. It was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful show. But the first time I came out of my stage door and there was somebody there and they were like, oh my gosh, you grew up on this street in Texas, and oh my gosh. And I was just like, who are you? How do you know my address, apartment number? Like, my mom still lives there. And like, then I started getting worried. I was like, if someone shows up at my mom's house, like my mother lives, I shouldn't have said that, lives alone, but yeah, well, she doesn't live there anymore. Good luck finding her. She lived alone. I was like, how are you finding this information about me? They knew where I went to college. They knew this one man knew somebody I dated in New York, where I hadn't lived for a whole year. And I was just like, this is getting too much. And also, like, working sometimes with the people here who have gotten a level of fame, it still scares me, dude. Like, it scares the heck out of me. Like, not that I don't love fans, man. I love them. Like, truly, truly, truly. Like, I'm not kidding. That connection is amazing. But there is an aspect of ownership when it comes to musicians that scares the heck out of me. So much so that, like, even when I started my Instagram, I was just denying people and blocking people. I was like, with some of the people who I was working with, like, I was like, no offense, like, you don't want to be my friend. You like Mariah Carey. And I appreciate that you love Mariah Carey. I love her too. But I did Christmas shows with her. I was like, I'm not a part of her normal band. So you messaging me like, oh, hey, when's the last time you hung out with Mariah? And oh my God, her kid. I'm like, Mariah don't call me. Like, she wouldn't call me. I said, I doubt that she would even know my name anymore. Like, if she knew my name to begin with. So like, I was just like blocking people left and right. Now that I've moved on to another famous singer who I'm working with or have been working with more, and I happen to love this woman as like a friend. Love her.
Who?
Sarah Connor. Like, she's my heart. If you ever met her, you'd understand in a heartbeat why. So now that I'm like, okay, with her, her fans can message me. Normally if you weren't saying something like, Ray, I saw your CD, or Ray, I was at your show, or I would like to be your friend because blah, 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 I blocked you. Now it's open for everybody. I'm not being mean anymore. But like now when Sarah's fans message me, I'm like, we talk about her. Like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I love that. Like, Draken is my favorite song. Absolutely love, 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 love it. So like I have full conversations with her fans about her music, and I have a little bit of a knowledge where they don't have, although I don't share much because like she is a friend and I do keep it personal. Whatever's personal is personal. But like, there's certain things that she loves that her fans love. And I think that like some of her favorite songs, she loves it when they love it. And so I'm like, yeah, let's talk about it.
You're talking about like your official fan page and stuff like that, or your private?
I only have, my only thing that's private about my life is Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook is my private. Instagram now is open for everybody.
Yeah.
Anybody can go to it whatsoever. I don't have like a fan page. I don't do that.
Yeah.
I'm not into it. My manager had one, but when he left, he took it with him.
Yeah.
So, it's whatever, but I love it. I love it. Like if I love the artist not that I don't love Mariah. I love her. Love her, love her, love her, love her. But that was a different relationship.
Yeah.
Like she ain't got time, to befriend you. Not that Sarah does either, to be honest with you, but she does. Like there's not a person in her band that's going to tell you that she is not family. Find me another artist that says the same thing. Find me another multi-million-dollar artist that says the same thing. I promise you it's not true. Or at least if they say it, it's going to be for things like this, which maybe now you're thinking I'm only saying it for things like this. But no, like, I mean, I hang out with this woman. Like, we go have coffee. We talk about her feelings, her life. She knows intimate details about me. Literally, we just hung out and had coffee and cake. Like, I love her, love her, love her. Friend, 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 friend. So with her fans, no problem. Message me. I'm not like super fan, because that would be weird to work with somebody who's also your super fan. But I am a fan enough to know brilliance in the music when I hear it.
Okay, so if you want to know some private details about Sarah Connor, write to Ray.
Won't come from me. If you want to know some good information about the music, I can tell you things that you probably haven't heard when you just listen to them on the records.
Nah.
Yeah. But about you, I'm happy to spill all your tea if you want. If you got information, like I can tell you who he's dating. I'm just joking. No.
But you were talking about that time that you wanted to be a musical theater headliner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, that was it. Like I got scared of the fame. Oh, I did go on a tangent. I can see where I went now. No, I got scared of the fame. I came too close to the door. And musical theater in America has a crazy fan base. Like they are like they're I'm standing outside of your hotel rooms kind of a things.
Yeah.
And it's silly because
it's crazy because it's not so popular abroad.
At all.
My brother is a fan of musical theater, and he knows such a lot of strange names, plays, and everything. And like quite regularly, he's in New York for some on Broadway, and he's crazy about it.
Me too.
I forgot everything what he told me, like every name, but he sent me some films, documentaries about famous composer.
For sure.
Zonderman.
Oh,
Sondheim.
Sondheim.
Sondheim, yeah.
Yeah. But this is my heart. I still love it. But again, I would only do it in America because, no offense, like the moment you change the language on a musical, you're messing up everything about it to me. I won't do it, and I'm a purist. And this was a big problem I had at the Duality as well. Like my boss was like, Ray, we want you to do this musical in German. And I'm like, no, like I refuse. Like, have you heard it in German? It's horrible. And no one has done it in a way that makes me think, oh, it's great. Now, there are some musicals that are really great in German. Rocky, absolutely, a great musical in German. Love it. Elizabeth, great musical in German. I could really name a few, but I'm like, do those. The first job that I got offered here as a musical theater person was Showboat. And they wanted me to do Old Man River in German. And I read it. I said I refuse, and they gave me so much money.
Yeah.
They like, well, not so much money, but it was a good chunk, and my body just wouldn't let me do it. I was like, I can't
No,
learn
but
it.
this is too much, and also like this American music theater Broadway, it has such a special style, you know. Like there are many nice music theaters in Poland making musicals in Polish, and they're great. But they're completely different. They're just plays with songs. It's
Okay.
not they're not pretending to be anything like Broadway.
Okay.
But if you have something with this kind of orchestral phrase from Broadway in German,
It doesn't fit. There's too many consonants in this language.
yeah, yeah,
it doesn't work. But do you ever feel that way too? Like, I mean, I don't know if I'm good enough to be famous. You know, if I'm being honest, I don't know if I'm good enough to be famous. But I know that I'm good enough to be really close. So I don't want to seem like, okay, Ray is saying like, oh, if he gave his full effort, he's going to be famous. But like, do you not find that frightening? Like, especially as a performer who I mean, it sounds like maybe you're doing better off than I am. I don't know. You got your own album out, so it's dang sure more than I've had right now.
yeah. But that's what's great for me here is that it doesn't really matter for people because my career and what I did in Poland is just like in Poland.
Okay.
So like no one really. No, it's not like no one cares, but they would need to make an effort. I could say something that would make it bigger in your eyes or smaller, but it's up to me. So we don't need to have this kind of distance. I don't need to have it with anyone because it's like, you know, I'm like David Bowie in Berlin in '70s.
Yeah, little incognito.
That's joke, but
But yeah, no, I get that. But like, I think I will respect what you do. It's your thing. Like, it seems like you're the lead. You're the main voice.
I do my stuff. Yeah,
That scares me.
yeah,
For real, man, it does. Like, there's such a. I would rather work with other stars and let them get the you know, and like chasing after the bus, and then I come and do like a duet with you or whatever, probably for the rest of my life. Then I would, me being that frontliner out there. I think Patti LaBelle, when she was talking about the LaBelles, she was saying like when they asked her to step out, she was like, I have to have these people with me. I cannot be the only one up there in that kind of direct spotlight. She refused to do it. And imagine what a horrible world the world would be if she had chosen not to do it. But yeah, man, I feel that. Like, and even when I do my own shows, like my own solo things, like I also like try to bring friends. I'm like, hey, come be my background. Like whatever you want to be paid, I'll pay it. Like I can't be up there by myself. And it's also why I have trouble. Like although I have written it down this morning. Come summer of 2021, I'm going to actually release some of these songs because I'm getting sick of having to scroll through all of them every day on my dial and realizing that I have been working on these songs for the last 3 years and no one has heard them but me, like no one.
But it's also it's not a borderline, but I observe it difficult for many artists who are usually a part of a band or a part of like working in the big band or big production to do something on their own after like years of being engaged in like big productions or where everything was more or less, you know, made by someone else and everything is like prepared and you have a lot of fun not having to do all this stuff, you know. And
you
then,
get to show up
but then
singing
they
alone.
but then you have this you miss it to do it for yourself. You have to just, you know, give away your songs and like have this voice of your own in a way.
I think the thing that I miss most about like really doing my own thing is like I'm a director at heart too. Like, you know, like that's because of the musical theater, the directing that I've done and everything else, I want to design a show. And I have 4 in my, like, I literally made stage productions. I'm a geek, man. If you came to my house, like, you'd be like, man, what the heck is this dude doing? Do it yourself. Like, I've built stages, and I've actually, because I do lights and sound, I went to school for it. I literally have a lighting sheet. I literally have a sound program for songs that I've had in my DAW that have full stage productions. And I'm like, this would be great. But the only problem is, like, I also did the math. I'm like, oh, $1 million production. I'm far from that now. Like, because I spent so much time singing behind someone else, I don't have the go to Universal and be like, hey, here's my $1 million production. Give it to me.
Yeah.
Although I do know enough of them now that I feel like I could call them, or some of them, and be like, hey,
But don't worry. Most of people who are trying to do their own stuff since like many years, they also cannot do it.
Yeah, but that's just the thing, though. Yeah. You now have practice on building a smaller set or building a small show, and I'm sure that you have left room in it to, like, if it grows in budget, you can grow it as a show. Yeah. I'm not joking with you. I have a big panorama of show reels. I don't know how to make it small. I don't remember what it was. Besides, like, you and your guitar, or not that I play, you see that? Like as if I knew a single note. You and a small band and the audience, like, that makes me nervous. Yeah. It makes me nervous. I appreciate it. Like, if you're out there standing on your own, I don't care if your music is bad. I'm gonna come see you because I appreciate you. And I'm not talking about you personally. I know your music isn't bad, but I'm like, I go to the worst shows. Like, literally, I'm like, I don't care if this is bad. Like, I appreciate you, dude. Like, you did this, and I don't have the courage to. I hide behind big performers. It's easy.
Yeah, but you hide behind very big performers. Like, you take part in enormous productions. I saw this Sarah Connor one, just one thing I found, and it's huge.
Yeah, for sure, and I have, and like I'm so blessed, like so blessed. Although you got to be careful when you say things like that about those kind of performers. It's different. I'm not joking with you. Sarah Connor's a different person. Like, don't even put her with the rest. That's a whole. I mean, not just because of the size and the quality of her show, but also just because of who she is. But that's a different person. But the thing about performing with some of these big performers is like I'm trying to say a name. There are some performers who I've performed with now for the last 10 years, like doing Schlagerboom, like doing 2 to 3 Schlagerbooms every single year for the last 10 years. Oh, gosh. Oh, my gosh. Where have you been? No, I'm just joking.
No, so, I'm just here. I've been in Berlin since more or less 4 years.
Yeah.
But with a break in Warsaw, and I used to be here more like just having breaks from tours over there,
So ARD,
TV.
I just want to make sure I didn't say AFD. Sorry. I really had a moment. It's like, did you just say that? No, ARD, sorry. The TV channel does these huge kind of like, well, first of all, Schlager is a type of music here in Germany. It's their popular music.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, well, I just want to make sure. But yeah, they do these huge television shows with all the huge Schlager performers. So I've done it now for 10 years. And not only just the Schlager productions, but also like the Schlagerfest, the Adventsfest, and like everything else. But there's a performer who I have literally performed with for 10 years now, who I promise you does not know my name, and that we've sung together, like in the shows, like literally have gone in like the way they normally do it. They bring us in to record for the live show. We do the live show. These people don't know me.
Yeah,
wouldn't be if I walked past them on the street, they couldn't tell you like where they knew me from.
Schlager is something like, in Poland we have something called disco polo.
Yeah,
and I think it's more or less like Polish equivalent of Schlager.
I don't know, but I would love to go. If for no other reason, I love disco. Is it like really like kind of like the representative of the disco?
No, it's more like pop music, but very a bit cheesy.
I love cheesy music.
Yeah.
You're like, you do pop.
No. There is a huge distance between anything you can call pop and disco polo. Yeah.
I love cheesy.
Yeah.
I want the big afros, the shoes with the fish in them. Like I want as cheesy you can go.
It's not that, Okay. I have to send you the link.
Please do.
But this is when I hear Schlager music on the radio in my car here, I think this is more or less the same. But the disco polo is like very, very simple songs with very simple background. And
you lost me.
Yeah.
If you don't have a good background, you don't have a song.
No. It's nothing. It's not a music.
Okay.
It's a kind of music. It's like something that pretends to be used to pretend to be music, and now by the right government who is like trying to gain votes from people from very like this kind of background that they love this kind of music.
Okay.
So
you're
now
trying to
it's
tell me
promoted.
Go uber cheesy and then go to Poland. Got it. I heard you.
Yeah, this is cheesy. This is a different way of being cheesy. It's not cheesy with afro and like funny dance.
Oh, I think we can make it work. I can be political. I can also like put in a little bit of a leftist core into it, but like make them think it's about the right wing. Hey, I'm good at that kind of stuff. They're like, no, get out of here. You know what's really funny? I've always wondered, like...
Yeah, but you were talking about something else. You were talking about this boom.
Schlager boom.
Schlager boom.
And that was really it, man. Like, it's just, I don't... like getting noticed and fame because of these kind of things, it doesn't really work that way, and I'm happy because it doesn't. I have literally been on the subway when my face has come up on those little screens.
Yeah.
And be sitting next to someone looking at the screen and have them look at me, and they're like, it never occurs to them to think the person that's sitting next to them is up on that screen.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. This
I know.
has happened.
I have very beautiful pictures, on my promoting videos and like stuff, so no one will recognize me on the street.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
You shouldn't love it. You should want someone to recognize you for what you've done.
But my I had a point in my career when I was for 2 years I was signed with Sony, and so it was like I got this punch of promotion.
I would love to talk about that contract off of camera.
Sure, no problem. I'll tell you everything.
Okay, great.
But I understood at that moment that it's not really my piece of cake. It's like not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
Like, because I don't have this this personality that would be a celebrity. Yeah, celebrate.
I think you do.
Celebrity.
I think you do. Or maybe, I don't know if you have the wanting for it, but like there's something about celebrities who are distant that it makes people, it's like, to me, and I know this is very sexist because you think about it in a woman kind of way, but like, but that's the trend. When women want men that don't want them, or don't want, they're like, oh, I want you more because you don't want me anymore. Even though men do it too, but that's just, I don't know, sexist that women are those stereotypes. Yeah. But actually, real quickly, there was this TikTok now that this guy was like, you're my type. You're beautiful, you're tall, you're gorgeous, and you ignore me. It's that kind of a thing. Like, I think fans want you to be like, yes, amazing gods on stage, and then, oh, but don't come near me. Whereas I would be like, oh, to everyone.
You're right in a way, but I think on the I'm not sure, but maybe on the big market, like U.S. market and UK market, you have a place for everything.
That's true.
You have a place, a big piece of cake for this kind of artists.
That's true.
And on the smaller markets like Germany or Poland, it's like you feel. I felt this push from the label, this kind of major label, to be this TV to outbring something more than just you as an artist, as a cool artist, as a songwriter. I felt that they want me to be more like colorful TV personality, just to gain attention.
And you make more money
crazy.
That way, because then they can sell you to promote things.
And at that moment, I felt like I don't feel like it. I would be lousy at it. I would lose a lot. And I knew that it's like I lost.
Yeah.
This moment I lost here. Yeah. I just have to get out. No.
Just get the money real quickly. Like, oh yeah, I'll do all that. No problem. Sign that check really quickly. Yep. And then just kind of do. Yeah, man. I love that part, like the selling thing. But that's the actor in me. But I'm not joking, man. Fame should scare everybody. Like, I mean, just think about it. Like with the whole like the royal family thing now, and Princess Diana and everything like that. I mean, they say the royal family killed her. I don't know, but what I can say is from the police report, those news reporters watched that woman pass away. you know,
Yeah.
because she had the wreck and she laid there dying. Why they took photos of her? Something is wrong with that. Like, and it would be different if it was like one person or like maybe two people. And then because you can say like, oh, there's two evil people in the world. But her car was surrounded by reporters, click, 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 as she was struggling to breathe. And to me, that's what fame feels like. I feel like I would be struggling to breathe, and everyone was like, "Oh, he's choking. Get your phones."
Yeah.
And recording me as I'm choking, and I'd be like, "Heimlich, anyone, Heimlich," and you just be, yeah, it's scary. And I also don't. I want you to love me for me. Like, don't love me because I wrote a song.
Yeah.
Because if you only loved me because I wrote a song, you wouldn't help me if I was dying. But if you loved me for me, you'd be like, Ray would help. Ray is going to help the homeless person on the street.
No, if they would love you for writing a song, they would help you. You know, if they would love you because you're famous, and they don't even know why, that you're just famous because you're famous, and they love you because you're famous. That's the problem. You know, that's.
There was a famous singer, and she was a Black American, African American, and I can't remember her name right now. But she literally fell down a flight of steps, and her fans from her concert, I'm sorry, I want to be more specific, watched her die. Didn't even call the ambulance. So I hear what you're saying, but proof isn't on your side.
No.
Like, I mean, because it's the people like also tragedy of things, you know, like the moment with Britney Spears, you know, like the moment she shaved her head, oh, she's doing drugs, take those kids away from her. And now that all of the story has changed, and you realize that her family was manipulating this situation and were giving her medications. I think don't quote me on that story. I wasn't a Britney Spears fan, but
something like that.
We know now that the narrative wasn't true, and now they're like, oh, poor Britney, and I'm like, no, you guys called the cops on her to get her kids taken away, and it wasn't her fault. Like, and you are the people who bought her albums. That should scare anybody. Like, that means you don't love anything about me. You love. Have you been dating someone the whole time that you? You're supposed to be single for your fans.
No, it's okay.
Okay, sorry. Because you did get those people like, oh shoot. Were you at a point where you were performing and didn't have a relationship?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know about the fans or the groupies. So you get this idea that or I'm assuming you dated a few of them. I tried. Did you? You can be honest.
Of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So that we can connect. I'm just trying to be. You can be specific about it. You get the feeling that when you do date them, like even if it's not just like the wham bam thank you ma'am kind of ones, the ones that you actually like, oh, like I actually would like to maybe.
And you realize that she is here because she has some image of you that
she's dating the you from the stage.
Yeah.
And I don't know about how you are on your. Well, yes, I do. I mean, maybe you are a little closer to who you are on stage, but who I am on stage is so completely different from who I am in real life.
Yeah.
Like literally, I had someone to be like, do you not like me? Like you just, like you're not as energetic about me. Like you're not giving me all this love. And I'm like, you thought I was that person jumping around and shaking my boobs on stage.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah, that's true. I also have this, which is funny when I speak about it in these times we have that we are not on stage since months. So these personalities are just somewhere there, hidden and neglected
to be released.
after years of having fun, on stage. Yeah, but I also have it. Yeah, I have this persona on stage, which is more funny, more smart, intelligent, like outcoming, expressive, and all this stuff. Yeah. So I remember these episodes, dating a girl, and realizing that she's just waiting for it, and you're just yourself.
Yeah, and I don't know what it is. And I would love to be the Ray from on stage in real life. I love him. Like sometimes in my mind, I watch him and I'm like, this guy is cool, But then the moment the lights go out or the audience goes, and then it's me, and I'm like, well, who the heck are you? And can you take some pieces from him and bring him into your real life? Because I think it would be a better life. Like or at least I think people would be a lot more relaxed around me. Like, like people see me and it's like big.
I don't think so. For me, I think it wouldn't be a good idea to have it with me all the time.
Really?
No.
Oh man, I would love him.
I mean, a lot of people would love him.
Yeah.
Me.
Yeah, but you wouldn't.
But because it's more charming. But it's no.
Yeah. I'll take a little bit of his charm. I think I'm kind of charming, but I feel like I'm charming in the, like the shady kind of a way. Like there's always a little bit of a backbite to my charm, and where he seems so like open and like as if you met him on the street, like he would acknowledge you. Like where I guess I've been maybe in Germany too long. Like I'm like the Germans. You walk up to me on the street, I'm like. Okay, what do you want?
Why you're so close?
Yes, like and especially now in COVID, I'm like, I can feel your breath on my neck. Like, what's going on? Whereas I feel like he'd be like, hey, what's going on? What do you need? But I'm very like, and also I have a thing about body smells, and this is not the city for that. Like, I'm so sorry. This here and Hanover are not the city to have a sensitive smell.
Really?
No. There's a lot of naturalists out there.
Yeah.
And like maybe it's because I have a big nose, and I'm not joking with you. I can smell what's going on across the street. Right. No, you're fine. Okay. I checked when I came in the door. But yeah, like I mean, like people and the air is rushing with them, and like my first thing.
You mean in summer or throughout the year?
Throughout the year, and I feel like in winter it's worse. Because people are a little bit more depressed in winter, and so like, what's the first thing?
And they are like coated, and then they open it in the subway, and
and then it just
you're right.
You get that whiff, and
Berlin is a bit dirty place somewhere,
and I love that about it.
Also, that's great. Yeah, that's great about it.
But put on deodorant. Like I'm not asking you to wear cologne. Like I do too much. Like I also think that my smell is offensive. Like That's my body wash has a smell. My hair wash has a smell. My beard wash has a smell. My face wash has a smell. I'm wearing cologne. I'm wearing body wash. Body lotion. I think that's also oppressive. Like you're like you smell like a flowery threw up somewhere, a flowery garden threw up somewhere. But I try to fix my face whenever I see someone coming towards me, because I'm like, okay, Ray, if they smell, you cannot do the face you make. You cannot do the face. Whereas I feel like that guy would smell it and be like, hey, it's okay. Like, what's going on, man? Like, thanks for coming and say something to me. Yeah. And I'm not that person. Sorry.
Yeah. I wanted to say something. Wait. Yeah. Have you ever taken some psychedelics?
Some who?
Psychedelics.
What is this? Oh, drugs.
Yeah. No, like psychedelics.
Isn't that the same thing? Well, the answer to that question is no, because I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Like, but what's the difference? I thought all drugs were like psychedelic-ish. Well,
No.
No.
Oh, it's like psychedelics are like they are called entheogens.
Okay.
So they are like, because there is this tradition that they used to be for ancient cultures to be
like
a doorway.
Shrooms or something like that.
Huh?
Like shrooms.
Yeah, like shrooms, like a doorway to mystical experiences.
Okay.
But I'm asking about it because of the stage experience. Because what I experienced taking psychedelics is that you can have connection with these personalities in your psyche.
Really?
Yeah. So I during these experiences I experienced like a bit more consciously being this personality that's on the stage.
Did you bring some? What happened? What kind of interview is this? Do you don't have any shrooms?
No, it's like we just talk about it openly, but we're not taking them here.
Yeah. No, I've never done them. Drugs scare me. Like I have some drug. Like we have very addictive issues in my family, and the people who I do have in my family who did take drugs fell heavily into them and can't get out. Like functioning, absolutely, still making a living, but like will literally go get a job that pays very, very well and will spend a whole paycheck on drugs and be fine sleeping on the street, still working the job, still functioning. But like, and the ones that, did alcohol, they're deep into it. Like it was too scary for me to try. The closest that I have ever done, and my mother would kill me that I'm saying this, is like I've been in a car with a friend of mine from high school, and he was smoking weed, and he had the windows up, And when I got out of the car, I said, I think this is high. You know, and I found out later that he had smoked me out as a funny joke because I was that kid in high school. Like, I was cool with everyone, like always. I'm not joking. Love is my love language. So I was cool with the druggies. I was cool with anybody who wanted to be who wanted love. But they also wanted me to experience their fun.
Yeah.
So I guess he had told everyone else that, you know, that this is what he was going to do. Because once I got out at the party, they were all sitting there, you know, just waiting for me to come out to see how funny I guess I was going to be high. But I had the complete opposite situation. I became paranoid, and you know, it was horrible.
I hate weed. You know, I cannot take it.
Yeah, well, I only tried it once, but I swear to you, I went walking, and I was like, the police are coming, and you know, it was not a positive experience.
No, I'm also paranoid after weed.
Yeah,
that's why I never take it.
I mean,
It's
I
just
wouldn't do it again.
Not for me.
That's not true. When I'm 70 years old, I'm no longer performing. I will do something then. Why not? I don't think it's a negative thing as like no one should do it. I just think that you shouldn't do it to excess. Like, you know, like we work in these clubs. Like, no offense, you go to Bergheim and I'm like, guys, there's only 2 beats, 1 and 3 every song. You can jump to those 1 and 3. Like, but you're so high, I'm like, oh, that's a problem. Like, if a German person who claps on 1 and 3 can't find 1 and 3 in the 1 and 3 song, maybe you should have, like, what's that phrase? Puff, puff, pass. Like, maybe you should have passed. You went puff, 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 puffing too much. It was too much. But like one time in your chill time, do something, whatever. Yeah, go for it. But
no, you know, it's like for me, like for most of people who actually have had these kind of experiences and made them, like, I would say in proper environment.
The drug popular environment.
No, psychedelics and drugs are a completely different thing. Like, drugs are taken for fun, pleasure, to avoid problems, conflicts, like everyday life, whatever. There are many of them, and you can use them in different ways. But psychedelics, for me, are just things for development. You know, it's like there is a renaissance of like medical psychedelics now.
Yeah, I mean, they did it in the US. They did it in the Native American society as well. Yeah. Now that I know the difference, psychedelics, I didn't know that word, but for sure. And obviously, they still have some tribes in Africa who does it as well. I completely
Ibogaine in Africa.
Good job.
Yeah. No, I mean,
you're like, oh yeah, I got that. But yeah, I mean, I'm all about it. I'm all about you finding different ways for you to explore your spirituality. I'm into it. Go for it. I just will say, for me, I'm high enough. Unless I tried it between 8 and 10 o'clock, that might be something one day.
Yeah.
Maybe I can skip over the bad part of the morning period. Just when I wake up. Oh no, it takes time for it to work, right?
It depends.
So maybe someone needs to put
which one. There are some that can really, but
do it before I go to sleep. Maybe I wake up.
Did you mention that you were depressed?
I don't think it's depression. Like, I don't know. I get really weird about titles like that because there are people out there who are really like depressed clinically and deserve like not to have their issues thrown around, because everyone says that, oh, I feel depressed, and then there are people who actually have depression, and then, you know, like, and it makes it feels like their depression isn't as relevant because everyone claims it. I don't think I was depressed
clinically.
I just think I was incredibly sad for some few moments in my life.
And what did you do? I mean, to get out of it, because you get out.
Did I? No, sure. I mean,
you seem to be fine now.
Thank you. I try my best to see. Maybe,
I mean,
you put on lights. Maybe this is the Ray from the stage. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I mean, I hate to be that person, like, to say that God handles all my problems, but like, God handles all my problems. And it's such a scapegoat, and I hate that about Christianity. It's like, I was sad, but then God. You know, and everyone does that. Like, I was a bad person, but then God. I had these problems, but then God.
Yeah, when I hear something like that, I'm like, okay, but I never had it.
Like, I don't want to say it, but I do in a way, but then God. Or don't call it God then. Call it that thing within yourself that doesn't allow you to go too far. You know, if we were religious, if this was a religious situation or conversation, I would say, well, you know, the Lord never puts more on you than you can bear. But take out the religion, period. And I'm going to say that, I mean, this is scientifically proven. Your human body has set up itself in a way that when you get to, if you're not like clinically depressed, like the moment you go into something is malfunctioning and malfiring in your brain, it's a completely different story. But you as just like a normal human being walking around the world, the moment you get to a certain amount of sadness, endorphins release. Something happens within your body that literally clicks and says, no more. And whether you want to call that the science of the thing or the God of the thing, whatever, I don't care. As long as you allow that thing when it clicks on to say, okay, now that I'm up for a moment, take a moment to think. And that's what happened to me. Like whenever I got too down, too depressed, literally something would click. You can call it endorphins, pheromones, whatever. Pheromones would not be what you should call it, sorry. Whatever you want to call it in my body that clicked, it clicked. And it gave me enough of an up to breathe, you know. I think the thing about drowning people is it's when they get above the water, they never take the breath. They're such in hysterics that they're still thinking that they're having to hold their breath, and the next thing you know, they're underneath the ground or underneath the water, and they have to breathe. And I think it's the same thing about sadness, man. Like if you don't understand that if you have a good moment, don't take that moment to go and break down the bad moments necessarily. Take that moment to breathe and say, oh, okay, there's some good up here. There's some good up here. Let's find those things. And then all of a sudden, when you have a good grip on those things, you can go back, okay, now what made me sad so I don't go that way again? You know.
And you have everything like quite well, you know, it sounds reasonable what you're saying.
I hope so.
It's like it's because you use reason to settle all these things, or when you live through these moments, it's more about your emotion and intuition, or you more like, okay, now I have to do this because I have this small better moment, so now I'll just grip something good and I'll tell myself what's good around me and what's good about my life and blah blah blah, you know.
I thought I was kind of under the impression we all did that. Like I didn't think that I was special with it.
No, it's quite special, I think.
Well, I guess thank you, but I guess I never thought of myself in any different than anyone else. But to me, like I'm not joking with you. Love is my language. And I guess I can't say that enough. I because of the amazingness of love, I can't let things get me down for too long. Like, because that's what happens.
So you're too much in awe of the beauty.
I really
around
am.
You.
And I hate that because it makes me feel it makes me seem naive to my own self. Like, you know, like just today, I was walking to come here and this guy was laying down on the bench and I was like, you know, not on the bench, on the little pathway. And he looked so sad. And I was like, man, it's okay. Like you're going to get up, you know, and I'm speaking to him in my broken German. And he kind of just looked up to me and he was like, you know, I was like, but no problem. I said, but you've heard it. And to me, I refuse to believe that the words coming out of my mouth will not affect you. And I think it's the same thing that makes me good on stage. I refuse to believe that the words I sing will not touch somebody. So like even if you respond to it negatively at first, like Ray, get out of my face. That's really, I mean, well, he said F you, F off. Yeah. But you know, in that perfect German way, which is my favorite German cuss word, by the way. Perpistis. I love it. It's just great. I don't use it, but I really love the way it sounds. But and I get that a lot in Berlin because I don't let them throw me away like that. You know, like people don't want you to talk to them. Like, no, you're gonna listen to my words, even if it's broken German. And I understand it's hard to understand. But yeah, I feel like at some point in that day, the man was gonna be like, you know what? He said it's gonna be all right. Let's see if I can make something all right. And because I am spiritual, I also believe that he'll have help when that time comes. Or if he doesn't have help, then like I'm open. Like, yo, now understand, I'm gonna have to get you to bathe first because I've already told you I have a smell thing. But we can hang out. Let's get together. Let's get better together. Now I can't financially support you, you know. And I also feel like if God wanted me to help a lot more people, He would have done something different with my finances. He did not. So, but what I can do is, man, I can emotionally be there for you, except between 8 and 10 o'clock in the morning. After that, like, yeah, you got a problem. Let's talk. Like, yo, let's walk. Let's see some beauty in this world. Let's talk about where the problem lies, and let's talk about how to fix them, because we don't have time. Like, life is short. Like, I don't know about you, but 37 came quick.
Yeah.
Like, I felt like I was just 15.
Yeah, I have some issues with that recently. You know.
I don't mind being older.
Yeah, me neither, but it's like you really see the time passing by
too
really
fast.
Yeah.
Too fast.
You're not 20 something anymore.
At all. Yeah. Actually, when I was writing up that thing for you, just to kind of tell you about what I did, I was like, I had to ask some friends of mine. I was like, I don't remember any of these people that I've worked with. I was like, I said, who did we work with? And he was like, oh, this person. I was like, oh, I remember that. Oh, gosh, I remember that. I go, oh, God, I forgot I worked with
you remember so much,
I didn't remember anything about my career, though. Like, that's a bad thing, right?
But giving visit cards is not everything. You also have to remember what you achieved.
That is true. I couldn't remember anybody, and I almost canceled this thing, man. I was like, I don't think that I've done anything.
Really?
I was like, I don't think I have anything on my resume except for this past 2 years that I can say like this has been consistent with one person that people know. And then my friend started naming names, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I was like, where did this time go? Like, I was like, I don't even remember some of those people. And my friend sent me a video of us dancing with this one, with Andre. I can't remember his last name. God, I'm horrible. And I was like, dude, I don't remember that whole performance. And I just told you, I don't do drugs, and I don't really drink. Like, I might have a drink every once in a while. But I was like, I don't remember being on that stage. And that's me. I was like, there's no... He looks like me. I said, that's me. I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, you had many gigs, man. You can forget.
Yeah, but I didn't get no money. No, and maybe that would be the issue. Like,
you remember the money you got?
I do. And I'm like, that's why I'm like, oh, now ask me who I got paid the most. Well, don't ask me that. Actually, that might get me in trouble. But I remember all of those gigs. Like when the paycheck came and it weighed something.
Yeah.
Have you ever like cashed your paycheck and put it in your hand just to see how much it weighs?
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Waiting. No.
I do.
You're waiting your paycheck.
Just because sometimes when it gets to a certain point, it feels like it's wonderful. It's a wonderful way.
Ask them to pay in coins,
Hell no.
And you'll be really like, wow.
I know. Then I got a bad back and everything else. But yeah. Do you find, sorry, is this supposed to be all about me or can I ask you a question?
No, sure. You can ask.
When you discuss, and you don't have to say actual prices, when you discuss your paycheck or like what you feel that you deserve to be paid on stage, do you feel like that's something that people are like, oh yeah, that's exactly what he deserves? Or do you always feel like you're fighting the trend?
That you what?
That you're fighting the trend of not paying people well.
Oh.
Because that is the trend.
It's different. I used to do it all by myself. And at that time, I was struggling, and I think I used to do it badly, just taking not enough or too much, or asking for too much. Asking not enough for a long time, and then suddenly saying, "Okay, that's enough," and asking for too much and being ridiculous. And then just my manager took care of it, and I'm just discussing with him what's possible,
That's
what's
nice.
not.
Do you have a good manager?
Yeah.
Give me his name.
He's in Poland. But if you want to do something in Poland,
that's the man to talk to. Yeah. Hey man, I'm in my mind. I'm already thinking about this disco show that I'm going to do, and I'm going to be the corniest disco show you ever saw, man. You're like, he's perfect. I would actually like to perform. I love performing for different people, and I've only ever done gospel shows in Poland. Yeah. Period. And it's I'm trying not to be rude. It's such a weird experience because like it felt like they were like, oh, they're watching us. Like we can't really respond to this. Like this, like as if the Catholic Church is sitting outside the door. Like if they clap at the end of this song, we're gonna put their name on a list.
Yeah, because it was in the church. It was in this kind of Catholic.
It was, and then the priest was kind of standing there, and he was just looking at it, not looking at us, looking at the congregation, and they were just sitting there, and you could see like little looks this way, and I was like. Jesus. I may not be a great gospel singer, but I'm darn good. And I was like, did you just hear that run I did? That took me 4 months to learn. Like, you need to at least like a fake applause or something. But it was they came after the show and they were like, that was great. That was moving. And I was like, thank you. I said, but you were dead the whole time.
I'm sorry, but it's just, I think Catholic Church in Poland just cultivates part of culture of this nation, which is not really the most interesting and warm,
They're very warm people.
I know, but church is cold
the church
in
was,
Poland.
The church was cold and cold. It was very cold.
and it's very stiff, and it's,
It was.
like they would have stick in the ass and just like are afraid of clapping and
Kinda.
Yeah.
But then also to me it became a challenge. I'd be like, you are going to clap for me.
yeah
And then you give more. Like
Yeah,
I went out into the audience, which I really never do anymore, which is sad because I forgot how much fun it is to
go to the public.
Yeah, to go to the public. And I pulled up this old lady out of her chair and I'm dancing with her. And then she kind of like rubbed down my thigh a little bit and I said, "Oh, gospel, 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 gospel. Put it back down. Put it down." So it was like, but the moment I did it, like the church laughed. It loosened up a little bit. Although I also felt like I was like, "Oh, get back up on the stage where you're safe." Because it was a nice little rub.
I used to do many of these small gigs playing solo.
Yeah.
A solo act in a small place on the countryside where you have like hundreds of people, rather old people and not really going out too much, very stiff.
Didn't they love it though because they didn't have much?
Yeah, but they were like And usually when I play gigs like that, I'm going with the guitar in front, like in between the seats, and just doing all this stuff that later I'm thinking about it. It's just, wow, it was so cheesy. It was so cheesy.
Yeah. But you pushed.
Yeah, but you have to do it if you see this kind of public, because you just want to do anything with them, like to really. So you're not sure if they remember because they are so stiff, So do you think that you need to do much more? Maybe you don't have really. Maybe they just have their way to digest it this way. This is their way,
I will say that I sold more CDs in Poland than I did on the rest of my tour.
Yeah, you see.
So I was like, they
That's
liked
the
me.
perspective.
They liked me, and that's all I needed. I know, as sad as that sounds, like maybe I do it for the applause, but not applause, like for the CD sales. Yeah,
And they love.
sad.
And I have to tell you something. The best. This is not my words. My friend Roland, who's Roland Satterwhite, the jazz violinist and singer. He's from US, living here since many years, and he told me. So I always say that as a kind of proof that the best blues players, bluesmen in Europe, apart from US, are in Poland. And
I
Polish
believe that.
people love blues and jazz
Really?
and like all kinds of black music.
I'm on my way.
Really, they love it. I started from playing blues in Poland for Polish people.
We should do something.
Yeah.
No, I'm not joking. Let's do something. We'll talk about it after this. But yeah, no, I love that. I love that. But you know what's funny? Like any people who can connect with pain, most of the time loves blues. Like
That's. Then we continued about it with him,
For
and
sure.
we got to the point that the history and the way this land was so tormented in the history of Europe for sure it has something to do with that.
For sure. Sure. For any people.
The same like in southern U.S. Like people had such trauma and such not a lot that didn't owe much here. They didn't have money, didn't have nothing, and they weren't sure if they would survive. Yeah, that's so they were cherishing music, culture, or like being together.
There was this Syrian refugee who moved here, and they moved him away. Not they moved him away. He might have moved away on his own. I don't know. But they did this Syrian refugee artist show here in Berlin. And although he tried to do it in English, and his English was not very good at all, when I tell you that he was the most talented blues singer that I had ever heard in my life, like I'm not saying like in Europe. I'm saying anywhere. He was absolutely amazing. The pain in his voice. I was sitting there in tears, and I was there with my friend who was being a word I can't say, but it starts with a B. Prevented me from going backstage and getting to know who he was. And when I went and finally was like, okay, I need to find this guy, because like I don't care what language you sing in, like let's do something. I want to work with everybody. If you do your thing good, I don't know if I can do it good, but I want to do that thing with you. Let's try it. And I went and found the promoter, and they were like, oh, he's gone. They shipped him out somewhere, and we don't know where. And I was just like, so angry at my friend wanting to choke him because he
stopped you.
That emotion that he developed at that show took me completely out of that's an amazing artist. And I'm like, someone needs to know you. Like, and I don't have many connections, but the connections I know, I'm like, look, like, no offense, especially if you're going to be a smart business person. You got a Syrian refugee who just came to Germany. They're trying to
sell it.
And I was like, and if you're going to sell it, can you sell the best of it at least?
Yeah.
And I think that he was the best that I had ever heard. And I have to this day not 100% forgiven my friend for that. But I also believe that the world turns and I will find him again. I'm pointing at the camera because he saw me and because he knew he touched me. And I'm like, you see this? Come find me. I would love to work with you. I don't know if I can do it as good as you do, but I can definitely give you some of my love, and maybe it'll feel like pain.
I wish it.
Yeah, me too, for sure. Is there anyone you wanted to work? How long do you have? I'm sorry, this is one of those situations. I talk, and you should maybe have put a timer up or something.
No, it's okay. It's completely. But we can.
Okay, I can finish. I can finish talking.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Who do you want to work with? Like, who is that person that you see them in shows either here or even in Poland, and like, I have to work with you?
No, I don't have it. I imagine, I imagine it.
Yeah, and it's done.
Yeah, but I don't have a particular person.
Really?
Like that.
That's good. I mean, I guess that's good. Have you ever worked with anyone? It's always been you. That's so brave.
Yeah, I was like doing my stuff from the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah.
And all the situations I was working for someone they were just temporary. And but I would like just to what I dream about is to create a fusion connection between different cultures. Yeah.
Okay. So that's what this is.
Apart from this singer-songwriter rock and roll idiom, just which is more or less everywhere the same and based on American music. Still based on American music because I feel like this is a part of also like my upbringing.
It's a good formula.
Yeah, it's just like that, but also with my own roots and things people are just bringing here from all over the world. Yeah,
I get that. I wonder if it's just me. I want to work with everybody, like every single person. Let's do it. I'm not joking.
But you doing it? You doing that? Do you have this a way to do that, or like a platform?
Yeah.
Any kind of that?
I come on things like this and say, let's work together. And then because
you have a visit card?
Because I do. I do. And because you said yes on your own show, then I feel like no matter how many emails that I send you and you might ignore, I'm going to continue doing so because you said yes on your show, which means that I have the right to bother you until it happens.
All right.
That's what I feel.
Deal.
But no, I mean, honestly, what I do is I go to shows, and I don't care where you are in your career. I don't know. That's not a good word. Where you are in your profession, like whether you're a beginning musician or whether you're an end musician, if you can show me that you have a heart in music, I want to work with you. And I know it's kind of like a little bit of a vampire thing, but I also want to suck that thing out of you and keep it, because I love it. I love all aspects of it. And I have done things that I should never do. Like, I mean, literally, I did a country music song with this guy here in Berlin. Like, no offense. Like, I mean, I am from Texas, and if I actually start talking a little bit more like I did when I was living in Texas, you can understand that I could actually do some country music. But it's not in my soul. Yeah. Like, country music, I love it. I do love it. But it's not in my soul. And you could tell in the record. And he kind of came to me in the recording studio, and he was like, he says, Ray, I want you to, stop with the accent. I said, that's actually how I talk. He said, stop. And he said, and also, I don't want you to think about singing in country music anymore. He said, think about like Patsy Cline, like do it something like that. She wasn't country, she was pop country. And then all of a sudden we had this pretty cool album. Although the song never did come out. I have it somewhere. Of course, with all the rest of my songs that don't come out. But yeah, I mean, it was something. He loved country music so much, which is a shame that he was here. Like I kept saying, like you need to move. Like country music is not going to pay your rent here.
Yeah.
It's not. Do you know any country people who are doing it here?
No.
It's not their trend. But he was determined to make Germans love country music, and literally would be performing at these places, and I would go see him. I go see anybody. If you put it up on Facebook or anywhere that I can find it, I'm probably going to be at it. And it's weird because you're like, who is this random black guy sitting in my front row like this, like he knows me? And I do, because I've stalked your Facebook page. But I mean, literally, it would be me and 3 other people in his audiences. Great country singer in Germany.
Yeah, but like doing his own stuff or just copying country?
His own stuff.
In German?
No.
Okay.
But here's the thing. The moment you make country with German words, you have Schlager.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And he didn't want to do Schlager. He said, I don't want it to be considered a Schlager singer. And it's really funny. Oh God, is it the Kelly family? I think that's the name of those.
This band?
Yeah.
All these kids? Yeah.
So I was like, They
still play? I remember it from...
Oh, are you kidding? Every
teens.
Christmas.
Yeah.
That's my Christmas gig, bro.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know you played with them, but it's like every year?
Every Christmas, bro.
Every Christmas you play with the Kelly family?
Yeah, at the back. Not joking. Look at all the little Advent fests at the back there. You'll see a purple robe and a little black face with glasses. That's me.
Cool.
But I was like, look, I don't know the Kelly family personally, but I do know one of their producers. I was like, would you want to possibly get connected to them? And like they kind of have a country sound, even though I think they would be very offended if I said that, but no offense. You didn't hire me last year anyway. That's not true. They did. I did go. Sorry, only one song. It was enough. But yeah, I was like, I can help you out there. And he was like, no, he says, I don't want to be considered Schlager. I want to be considered country. And I was like, you're in the wrong
place. Yeah.
Country, man. And I think that's a lot of musicians. I'm like, but I don't want to be that one to be like, you'll never make it in country music in Germany, and then all of a sudden, either 1, he could have blown up, or 2, you discouraged him.
But I know what you mean. It's like there are also not so many, but I somehow my first years in music in playing gigs was in a kind of Polish blues scene. Let's say there is one. So it's quite bustling with many young bands. A lot of people are doing that, and you used to have many festivals, summer festivals and stuff like that. And every time I was looking or listening to talented young musicians playing blues, playing interesting blues, like some of them played like Chicago blues and folk blues, slide blues, like everything you have. You had many bands from US coming to Poland, and I know people who organize their tours in Poland, and you have this a public for that. But always when I look at these guys, I'm thinking you should just go there and just play in a good band, and you would be happy, and you would be happier, than playing it here, because here you can do it for 1 year, 2 years, and then you're just like
they know you.
They know you. It's nothing new.
But I think there's something about being a big fish in a small pond. If you can be the one that squeaks through, you could be the biggest here. And I feel that way too. Like, no offense. Like, I think if I'm wondering if I'm sounding like a butthole on this thing. But I'm every once in a while when I do feel like, Ray, you can do this. Like, go ahead and step out on your own. I never do it, but I do say it to myself every once in a while. I think to myself, it might be easy to be a big fish here, where in America, I would be a small fish. Well, actually, first of all, I have to go back to musical theater only because pop people wouldn't have me. That's not true. The pop people would have me.
But you never know. I mean, at your level, you cannot say what would happen.
Dude, I absolutely, in America, I can. You know why? In every genre I sing, I know 40 people who are better.
I know, but that's not about that. It's about luck.
It is about luck a little bit. It is about luck.
I'll give you that. Like New York, come on.
True. But imagine, I mean, to me, my agent said it best. He was like, if you want to be famous here, he said, sing in German. He said, you don't even have to sing much in German. He said, get 4 German songs. He says, all the German people want to know is that you respect their culture enough that, to sing their music, start singing music with their language. And he said, then you'll never have to sing German again. And
that's some words of wisdom.
it really was. And I was like, yeah. I said, but I would like to write a German song when I feel it. Like, do you dream in German now every once in a while?
No.
You haven't gotten there yet?
No,
okay.
my German is still very schwa.
Mine is horrible, like the worst. But every once in a while, I'll have like a little dream in German, and I want my song that is going to be German.
It's short dream or long dream?
It's always a short dream because there's not much to say. And it's normally like I'm trying to make someone understand me in German, and someone was like, that's normally how I feel. That's normally what I wake up with, that feeling like, stop massacring my language.
Yeah.
But when I write a German song, I want it to be that. I want it to be like the words just came to me like in a dream.
You just want it to be good. Yeah. Like you wish it to be like.
Well, I mean, I could probably now
if you do it well. Yeah.
Translate some songs that I've written now into German, but then that would be just like musical theater to me. I would hate it. I don't know. Maybe you write me a song
in German.
Yeah.
Man, if I would write a song in German, I could do that, but I would have to like just agree that I will lose everything I left in Poland. I would burn my bridges.
Really? You really think so?
No, I'm joking, but it's like
you feel like it a little bit.
Singing in German in Poland. It's something a bit stronger than singing in German in U.S.
I can get that. I can get that. Yeah, it's so funny when you think about the history and who they are now. To me, as a people, like if I read the history books, I'm like,
crazy.
Who are you people? Although if you go to some places in Germany, you're like, I know you. I'm like, yeah, your father was over something. I know, like no offense, like I can see how you were in a direct line from that hate. But for the most part, man, like I know this sounds crazy, but I love these people. It really is crazy to me. Because I didn't think that I would. Like, like no offense, but what do we know in America about Germany? I was like, oh, Hitler. Yeah. Literally, my mom was like, when I told her I was moving here, and she was like, what? She's like, they worship Hitler, like they're gonna kill you. And I'm like, Mom, the wall has been down for a long time. Hitler is dead and buried. Yeah. I said, I think I'm okay. And so funny, I met some white nationalists here, some Nazi party people here. They had no problem with me. I was in.
Yeah, they never had problem. To some moment, they would have problem with you or me.
It really wasn't. Like I was in Dortmund, and funny enough, the worst thing that has ever happened to me in this country is that when someone, first of all, and it's always those gigs that pay you the least amount of money that put you through the most stress. So this guy asked me to come do this recording with him in Dortmund and got me a ticket. And just so happens, he got me a ticket during their march that they had in Dortmund. It was like 5 years ago, the huge one that was all over the news because like fights broke out and everything else. So here's my black butt with my bags, walking with my headphones on, like literally listening to the music and learning the music. Because I will say, like, no offense, like when you pay me under a certain amount, I am not going to prepare for your gig. And I do tell them that. Like you're not paying me for preparation. You get that, right? So that means that the day of, I'm going to listen to your music. I'm going to come and do it. And whatever happens, like, because you're not paying me enough. Especially when those people call you and say, like, how much are you worth? And you tell them the price, and then they give you a price that's so much worse than that. And you're like,
yeah, that's honest to say that I won't prepare.
Yeah. So I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to prepare for your gig. I'm going to show up and do whatever. So I'm listening to the music and with my bag, and I'm like, there's a lot of people on the street, not thinking whatsoever. And this guy grabs me by my arm and rushes me to the side building. And he was like, you are in danger. And I was like, what? What do you mean? He says, this is a Nazi rally that you just walked through the middle of. And I was like, oh crap. Like I said, okay. I said, how do I get out of here? He said, there's no cabs on this street or the next street or the next street. He said, the fight has broken out. This guy walking in the Nazi party took me into his friend's bar, which was right down the street from the I&O there, bought me a drink, stayed with me until the producer that I called was able to come pick me up. And I was just like, I said, sir, I don't understand you. I was like, first of all, we're speaking, at that point, I didn't know any German. I said, you're speaking to me in English. I'm an Ausländer living in your country. I just told you I'm coming here to work, which could have gone to a German. And yet you're walking in this Nazi rally, which says that you hate all of us. Yeah. And he says, bro, I don't hate you at all. This isn't about you at all. And he said, this is about, keeping German pride. And he says, you seem to be very prideful that you're here. And I said, I guess I really am. I said, but I do also want you to understand that there are some problems. I did the same thing I told you about the cobwebs, because I can't let people think like this is the best thing in the world. And I'm like, nope, cobwebs. He was like, yeah, we know that. He says, we just want to make sure that it's front and center. I'm not saying that to say that all people in the Nazi Party are great and to go have a beer with them, like you could be in danger. But I will say like that it was just such a amazing experience to me. Like, no offense, you can't, if there are white nationalists in America and some white nationalists grab you as a black person on the arm, they're going to hang you. Like, there is no conversation. There is no like, oh, I just want to take care of you. No, you're about to get dragged on a truck because that's what they do. They hate all, just in general. But it was nice to know that if you do hate, you're at least hating with some cause. You want to keep German. And I understand that it can be very difficult when you watch people come to your country, start to outnumber you, and see things that you think is your culture starting to disappear. I do not agree with them, but I do understand it. Yeah. I don't know how I got on that story, but but yeah.
But what about, like, if you compare racism in U.S. and here?
Oh, there is no comparison.
No comparison.
There's no such. If there was it also depends on where you are and who you are. Like, even in America, my first 2 months in Ohio, going to college there, were horrible. I mean, just horrible. First of all, I moved there when people in Ohio, it's a suburb of Columbus, Westerville, they didn't lock their doors. Like, no one in the whole town locked their doors. Like, you could just literally, like, hey, neighbor, come on in. I moved in. Everyone started locking their doors,
Because of you?
Because of me. And also there was other, I think maybe about 5 other black people who had moved into the neighborhood, whatever. All of us going to the same Otterbein college. All of a sudden, doors start locking. And you would see people literally drive away and then like, U-turn and then go and lock the door and look at us. And we'd be sitting on the porch like, hi. Like, we weren't going to go into your house.
This country is crazy.
It was. 2 months later, they got to know us. I got cast in a show at Otterbein College, literally my first month, which was unheard of at that point. So I became this talking point, like they cast a freshman. They've never done that before. And here they are, and we were doing Mikado, which is horrible. Like, Mikado is Gilbert and Sullivan musical, but it's about Asian culture. So everyone is in kimonos, and we all have like these fake eye pulls and stuff like that. It's a very racist musical, but it also just happens to be really, really good. And don't you hate it when something is racist, but also can be good?
But a black guy playing Asian with like this,
for sure.
Isn't it like crazy?
It was crazy, and I was the lead. I'm the Mikado in the Mikado.
Absurd.
It was nuts. So, like, of course, everyone in the town got to know me because you have a black guy playing the Asian lead in a musical as a freshman they had never done that. Like, literally, you weren't allowed to audition until your second year. So here comes this black guy playing the Mikado, an Asian character in the Mikado. Everyone knew me, and the moment they knew me, it became like the most welcoming place that I've ever been to this point, besides Germany. People invited me to their houses, and I don't know if my neighbors wanted to make up for that first couple of months, but all of a sudden they started asking me like, oh, we are locking our doors now. Can we give you the keys to our house just in case we forget our keys somewhere? And I'm like, there was a board on my wall with all my neighbors' keys. And I wanted to remind every single one of them. I said, you do remember that I was the reason you started to lock your door to begin with, and now you just gave me the keys and access to your houses.
This is kind of community that you won't find anywhere here, yeah.
For sure. I mean, well, it depends on what you mean. Like the welcoming community, absolutely here.
Yeah, but even the fact that they all reacted the same.
Well, it depends on who you are. Now, if you're talking about as a black person, no. But I've talked to some African friends of mine who have a completely different story about moving into Prenzlauer Berg. I've talked to some Turkish friends of mine who move out of Neukölln. No, thank you. Gosh, I can't say the name right now. This is what my dream is like. I'm saying, and they're just like, stop. Moved out of that neighborhood and moved into Mitte and had a complete building hate of them to the point where they were complaining to their landlord, talking about that they were cooking drugs because they could smell the spices from their food, and was literally sending the cops to their house every other week because they were always drugs. But it was, I don't know if you've ever had some of the Turkish food. There's some things in there that do kind of smell like weed. Yeah. But every single week, and the cops are telling you there's no drugs there. There's no drugs there. Can you stop calling us? There's no drugs. It's their food. They're eating. And then they went to the landlord to complain well, can you tell them they need to stop cooking with their windows open? And so everyone has a different experience. And I mean, is it like me, where a whole neighborhood started locking a door because I moved in? No, but different cultures here do have their moments of that type of racism. And it's not really racism. I'm going to say it's microaggressions. And Germans are kings of microaggressions. It's walk across the street when the light isn't, when the green guy, the Billy guy isn't up there.
That's it's not it's a stereotype, but it's true.
It is not a stereotypes are things that are based off of people that has been really proven not to be true.
Okay.
I walk it now. Go right now and walk.
I know, man. This is the only place I know that if you would, for example, if you walk on the pavement for cycles, for bikes,
yes,
they will scream at you. Sometimes,
absolutely,
not always. Or if you do something against some rule, only when you're driving a bike and you do something wrong, you will stop in the wrong place, and you have this anger, from people, not because they are angry. They are not angry because they had to stop.
Yeah.
They're angry because you are doing it against the rule.
And they want you to follow them.
Yeah.
But the way they respond to it is microaggression.
Yeah.
This woman came to me when I first moved here. At that point, I was coming from New York, and then from New York, from Nice in France. Stoplight, what are those? we don't know what that means. If a car's not coming, you go.
Yeah.
This woman broke the rules, which makes you understand how serious she was about it, to catch me to say, oh, the light is red. And I said, yes. And I went to walking. No. And she followed me across the street. And she says, maybe you don't know. And the most sarcastic.
She was nice.
I mean, no. It was sarcastic.
Oh,
it was very aggressive kind of a way. As she's holding my arm, which, no offense, I'm you don't know me, and I'm a big guy, and I think I'm too big to be held now. And she was like, you should go back across the street because you need to learn to wait.
Wow.
And I said, ma'am, in my nicest Southern tone, I said, God bless you. I said, but if you don't take your hands off of me, he gonna see you real soon. Do you understand? And she was like, what? I said, yes, I'm going to make you meet the Lord if you don't take your hands off of me. And, because I was I don't understand why this, at this point, no offense, I'm coming from America. And it took me almost 10 years now to not see white people as a possible threat to me.
Yeah.
I know that sounds sad because why group everybody? But the truth is, and if you live in Texas, they are. Every one of them could be a threat. It only takes you accidentally rubbing their daughter, or some husband thinking you looked at his wife's breast or whatever, to get you and your whole family killed. So we train ourselves to think, don't do anything with white people except for say, be polite. And then if you do anything else, your life could be a danger. So it took me 10 years to understand that. But no offense, she had me at the right day. She had me in such an old lady with such a good grip. I was like, ma'am, you are about to meet the Father in heaven because I'm about to escort you there. I was like, you need to let your hands off. And she got so offended. You. And then, of course, the Germans came out because, when Germans get upset, they can't stick necessarily to English. It has to come out in German. Yeah. And so she was just Germaning at me. I don't know what she said.
Germaning at me.
I didn't know a single word she was saying. And I was just like, yeah. I said, as long as you understand. I said, grab me again. At that point, I was almost begging. I was like, I'm tired. But she didn't, thank God, because I don't know what I would have done. But there's a lot of microaggressions.
Yeah, was there any difference when you moved from Texas, for example, northern states? Is it different?
No, I'm going to tell you why. Like, if you're in Texas, you don't really see a lot of racism so much because we're segregated. You know, telling me that segregation ended is a lie. Like, black people are with black people, white people are with white people, Hispanics are with Hispanics. We might mix at school sometimes. We might have to have classes together, but we live completely separate lives. I had a few white friends at school, and one of them was really close. Really, really close to me. His name was Mikey, and I remember going to his house the first time, and his mother had left something on the counter. Now, please understand, this might just be how I read it. This may not have been how she was thinking it, but it was like a little bracelet, something that was sitting on the counter, something shiny, a diamond, whatever. And she saw it and went and grabbed it and went and took it to her room. Now, she might have just been like, oh, I don't want to leave my expensive things out with these kids. I don't know. But like, because I was sitting there in her living room and how she snatched it, I'm like, I didn't feel comfortable coming to his house anymore.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying like, oh, you know, my mom like loved you and she wants you to come back and hang out in the pool. And I never did. And that was the end of our friendship. And it was sad, you know, like, because we were we were kids and I loved hanging out with him. But I was like, I no longer feel comfortable going to your house because if something does come up missing, like, are they going to blame you?
Yeah, of course.
So, you know, but that's the whole point. Texas, we didn't mix. In the North, they mixed. So I think I got called the N-word more in Ohio than I ever did in Texas. I got called the N-word more by people of color in New York than I ever did in my whole life. But, you know, that's at that point.
But that's different, right?
Not to me.
Not to you.
Now, I do understand that there is a difference between, like, some people on who can say the N-word and who can't. My philosophy is don't ever say it. Because I know.
So why would they do that? Like, it's just an offense. It's not like regarding your skin, yeah? If a black person calls you.
The name, words have history. Words have meanings.
But why are they doing that?
I don't know. And I think to me, I come from the philosophy of plain and simple. There are certain cultures that have adopted certain words, and that they use. Like, for example, like especially in America, some of the girls call each other bitch.
Yeah.
You know, they're quick to like, hey, and it's just a normal greeting. But you know, and I know that we can't go up to them and like, hey, in a group. It's just something you don't do.
Yeah.
Where the same thing with the homosexual community, like, oh hey, fag, this, you know, all day long. You know, that's not something that a straight person would go to a homosexual man. I'm like, hey, fag. You know, it's not something you would do. Yeah. I think this is kind of how, if you're black and you feel like you should say it, I think it's the same thing. They're trying to take the word that was once used negatively against them and say, it's ours, we're going to make it positive for us.
Yeah.
That's fine for you. But for me, I'm from Texas. I don't have a history of it ever being positive. I only know it in the negative term. And it would take too long for my brain to switch the word around.
Do you think there's like, because if we would talk like 5 years ago, it would be different talk. But now with all this social justice and everything that happens, with Trump being...
we don't say his name.
No?
45. You can say 45.
Sorry.
Or he who will not be named, like Voldemort.
Okay, I'm sorry. I already said many worse things in this podcast.
No, that was the worst thing you've said in this whole podcast to me. 45. Oh, yes, 45. What about 45?
I crossed many American borders here, speaking with Americans, really. But what will be there, like with racism and, you know, because, you know, racism and discrimination will exist everywhere, of course. Like, there will be always, Polish people will always be discriminated in Germany and Turkish people.
Do you
Berlin.
feel that way?
You know, but I'm not typical Polish immigrant in Germany.
Because I asked you, I said, do Polish people have problems here in Germany? You said
they have,
none.
Not me.
Oh, okay.
You ask if I have problems.
That's true.
With Germany.
Very, very good.
Yeah, but of course, people who emigrated to Germany from Poland throughout the last 50 years, they never feel until the end of life, like fully appreciated or integrated somehow. They always feel this push back. Yeah,
I didn't know that at all.
That's what I hear from people, from old people, not from like young guys who are coming to Berlin because it's a cool city and they have a nice job, or they just going and there and for because it's so close.
I know this sounds horrible. Just real quick, hold on to that thought. But like my question to you would be like, do you feel like the Germans recognize Polish people as Polish by looks, and it might be just my ignorance of it, like, but I'm looking at you and you kind of to me look like the German people, which hopefully doesn't insult you. I would never see you walking down the street and be like, oh, he's Polish. But can Germans tell the difference?
I don't think so. There is a Polish type which is possible to just pick up. Okay. There is a kind of outlook that you, for sure, many people can recognize, but it's more about outfit, way of the haircut, Oh,
wow.
There's this like typical, I don't know, a way some Polish, especially workers, look like shortly shaved and like big guys, round head,
Cool. Sorry, Chandra, please finish your story.
Just, but to be honest, not. Like, I don't believe it that you can recognize anyone from Poland like that. But it's just like they have this prejudice and that they're stealing things. They used to steal things in Germany, which
the
is
Polish
true.
People.
Yeah, which is true. Many, especially in the 90s, when there was this huge crisis in Poland and in the East, people were going to Germany to steal,
But didn't the Germans cause the crisis? Or is this, weren't the Germans... I'm trying to be specific about my history. Didn't the Germans come and occupy Poland, or was this earlier?
It was earlier. Yeah.
Okay, so they're the reasons why they were poor, then, right?
The subject is deep as hell.
Okay.
It's like these two countries fighting with each other since ages. Many wars, and always like there is a lot of history. Yeah.
Okay.
And there is a lot of prejudices but I lost my plot now.
Sorry, you were talking about them coming in and stealing.
No, I was talking about something else.
No, that was the last thing we went before this. That they thought that with the short hair and the big guys that they were coming here as thieves to steal things.
Yeah, I'm talking about prejudices. Yeah, like traditional prejudices from the last 20 years.
Yeah.
But in general, I wanted to ask you something.
Okay.
Because I spoke about Polish people in Germany to just mention that it will exist everywhere, especially in the places like that. If you have Germany, Poland, I don't know, Korea, Japan, U.S., Mexico, like different nations, people, like tribes, cities, borderlands.
Borderlands.
Yeah.
I hate that word.
It will always be like that. But in the US, there is a really huge tension and history and unsolved matter. Yeah.
I think to me, I don't want to say that it's just in the U.S. Because I mean, like you said, I think it is everywhere. I think the only problem with the U.S. When it comes to those situations is they never said they were sorry to anyone. Like what the Germans did to the Jewish people. Like there's so much guilt. That they still exhibit today when we're in a generation where they had nothing to do with that atrocity, yet they still feel a tremendous amount of guilt. Yeah. They're paying reparations, they're building museums, they're building statues, they're saying they're sorry in every way that they possibly. Well,
they didn't pay any reparation to Poland.
Oh, no, I'm talking about Germany. Sorry. I told you I don't know nothing about Poland.
I'm just teasing you.
Germany, get on it.
Doesn't matter.
Give them their money. But they were like, oh, but you came here and you stole a lot of stuff. You're fine. No, I'm just joking. But yeah.
Yeah, some of them think like that. Yeah. They were stealing because they felt like a victim. So they're like,
that's what I would think. Yeah. Like, no offense, if you did something to me, although I would say I didn't do it in America. But if you did something to me, like, for example, like especially something that caused me to have financial difficulties and I came into your house, expect that things are going to go missing. Because I'm going to take exactly what I felt like you took from me. But beyond that, but I will say the thing to me, especially about the Germans and the Jews at least, or Jewish people, I'm stop saying Jews. I feel like that's a derogatory word now. But the Jewish people, they're showing that they were sorry. the majority Americans, nope, actually that doesn't right. The white Americans, let's be more specific about that one. What they did to the Native Americans, they have never apologized for. And then they took them and put them on what they thought was the crappiest land in all of America.
Yeah.
And then once the Native Americans found that black oil, that Texas gold, they kicked them off that land and moved them somewhere else. And then the Native Americans said, okay, we're going to build casinos and we have autonomy from all of you guys. Then they came to try to take that. So it's kind of like, not only did you not apologize to the Native Americans, you tried to say, oh, anytime you decided to stick your head above, like struggling, I'm going to knock you back down. The Mexican people, we talk about things like, if you're raised in Texas, you hear about the Alamo all the time, the Battle of the Alamo. And it's all about how the Mexican people did horrible things to all these people, to all these white, wonderful people. Yeah. And that's what the story was to me, or that's what I learned. And then all of a sudden you learned, oh, wait a minute, Texas was Mexico back then. You had this manifest destiny, which is what they call it, which was a dream that God gave you that told you that you were going to own everything from the West Coast to the East Coast. So when you decided to go into Texas, which was Little Mexico at that point, and they said, no, you said, you're treating us so bad, we're going to kill you. And that's what they did. And they still treat them horribly today. Yeah. So now and what people don't tell you about the Mexican culture is America is one of the biggest reasons that that Mexico has a horrible economy.
Yeah.
We have done everything possible to make sure that peso stays absolutely nothing. But why? Because it's a vacation resort for us. We can go down to Mexico, get on one of those cruises and go to Cancun and whatever and spend $300 in Mexico and buy $1,000 worth of luxuries. And we keep their economy low because of that. And then when they say, okay, well, you're starving us at home, I don't have anything to sell to the people coming on the cruise ships. I'd like to come to America and try to work. And they do, and they work hard, which is why whenever you see ICE picking up people, it's always at a job. You don't see them, you don't ever see the ICE picking up a Mexican immigrant from the street, begging for money. Yeah. It's always at their job. And more importantly, it's at a job that I'm not going to go clean out poop ditches. I'm sorry. I even though I understand that is a necessary thing in society, that poop clogs up and someone has to go and unplug it. It could be you. I would volunteer you, your girlfriend, your mother. I would volunteer everybody in your family before I would ever, even for a day, go and do it. Yeah. So if you have someone who wants to say, hey, I need a job, I'll do it. I don't have that kind of vanity, because that's what that is, that I won't do it. And then as they're doing the crap job, you say, oh, thank you for cleaning the pipes. By the way, come back. You're going back to Mexico. Yeah. African American, same story. You held us in slavery for hundreds of years. Then once we got free, didn't tell us we were free. Then once we started building up nations where we were starting to make our own money, Black Wall Street, you bombed it. And not with bombs that you can buy at your local gun shop, bombs that had to come from the government. So that means that whole bombing of, I almost said Tucson. What is the dang place? I forgot the name. Sorry. Either way, that was a government-sanctioned bombing. And then you went straight from bad education to prisons for Black people. You're never apologizing to any of these people you hurt. You might feel bad as a culture, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, I can say you feel bad. Okay. But you keep doing it. No. That's to me the problem with America. It's not that they're doing anything different, because I could tell you that same story about every single country that I know of. I don't know Poland, but it sounds like maybe y'all have some history too. But that's every country. But at least at some point, even France was like, oh, okay, all these colonizations that we did, we feel a little bad. We're going to leave you alone. We're still going to take the money from you. But, we're no longer going to try to collapse your entire government.
Yeah, I know. But what? Yeah, who should say I'm sorry?
Anyone in the wrong. If you can look at any of those situations and say that you're wrong, the way that you could say you're wrong to me is to build an opposite system. If you're upset that black people are going straight from crappy education system to prison, get them better education. Open up some of these private schools and not just have one or two black people or people of color. Literally move the private school into public sector. Make those schools take everybody and teach them the same thing. We're not asking for handouts. We're asking for equality. And not even just equality to the point where we have to be exactly at the same level as you. Just not so far down that it's hard for me to talk about. Sorry, I will not get emotional. To me, as a black person who made it out, I walk with so much guilt. This is part of that 8 to 10 conversation as well. Like, I'm smart enough, I'm talented enough, I'm leadership material enough that I could have absolutely done something for my people. Like build up some kind of fight, Black Lives Matter, whatever I could have done. I'm a leader. People will follow me. I could have stayed there and done something for my people. But I said, I got a little bit of talent. People will pay for that talent. Deuces. I'm out. And I ran. So I do feel guilty about that. But the only thing that I would ask is that you try to at least take the boot off of our neck. Even if you don't even help down to pick up, no problem. We will rise to the top as people of color. Like, no offense, we do. The moment you give us any kind of opportunity, we do rise. Now, we might have a ceiling that we can't get past, whatever, but we won't ever stay down. But if you're going to keep your foot on our neck, we're going to continue to drown. And then you get angry when we try to bite the foot that's on our neck. What do you mean? Yeah. So, but don't think of it as America is worse than. It's just that America is what pain, violence looks like. That's not apologetic. Which I guess maybe that does make it worse. You were right.
Yeah, but
that was a 30-minute conversation for me to say you were right.
Okay.
But that's every country. Like, I mean, who has Poland apologized to? Was Poland ever in a position of authority like that they could be the oppressors for someone? Obviously, at some point, because Germany wouldn't have come to try to...
What?
Germany surely wouldn't have come to try to own it if it didn't have something that it was leading in, right?
What do you mean?
Most colonizers, which German.
If you're asking about colonies, no, we had no colonies.
Okay, that's good.
We used to oppress. I think we used to oppress eastern part of Eastern nations.
Okay.
Like Poland was twice as much on east than it is now. So there were many parts of Eastern Poland that were ethnically mostly non-Polish.
Okay.
Ukraine, Belarus, Lithuania, and so on. But this was, I don't think we said that. We said we're sorry. But it was not a colony. Yeah, it was, I guess, something more like Germany occupying parts of Poland in the 19th century. It was just the way it looked, and I don't think that Germany or Austria and Russia would say we are sorry for that. I don't think so, and I don't think anyone would expect that. It was just, it was like to expect, I don't know, Sweden to say we are sorry for 17th century wars that we plunged your country. No one expecting that.
I do.
It's not really.
Yeah.
But then you when would you say stop?
I would say stop the moment we got rid of the stupid thing called borders. There's no such thing. These imaginary lines on maps. Are you kidding? This line here, this is the border between my land and your land. You step one foot on that, I get to shoot you, kill you, arrange your entire life because you walked over an imaginary line.
Yeah, I agree with you, but that's not how it works.
But I think the reason it does not work is because we don't demand it. Like, your government works for you. And the problem with us as a people, period, I mean, this isn't just Germany, this is all over the world, is that what we do is we do the lazy way. we elect a leader. Some countries get to elect their leaders. Elect a leader to represent us, and then we sit back. We've done a good job. You voted, if you voted at all. And then we watch these atrocities, and we think, that's the best man for the job, though it's okay. He's not doing great, but it's okay because we're too lazy to get up and do something about it. But the truth of the matter is, if everybody, even if everyone in Berlin rose up and said, no more borders, Germany, we're not going to allow you to keep other people out of here because you think this belongs to you. This is Earth.
But you are in the minority of thinkers like that, Most of people don't think like that. People have this tribal way of thinking. And you can see it in religion, in the nations, If there is a problem, I think that's a lesson. I would say that's a lesson you can learn from past, from stories like Second World War. And Germans, Jews, and Polish people in the same place, and other nations, that they were all fine together a few years before. You go to Krakow, 1935, and you have, one of the biggest Jewish city, like this Jewish district with schools and Polish people around, and Germans and Ukrainians, a lot of nations, especially like Eastern Poland. And they were fine together. But suddenly, now we call them Nazis, but they were German army coming, terrorizing everyone, terrorizing them like nowhere else, not like in France, in Paris, they were behaving differently in Poland. And just telling you that if you will hide a Jewish person at your house, we'll kill you and your family. So what do? You're thinking,
a Jewish person in my house.
Yeah. Some people used to do it, and there is in this Yad Vashem Institute in Jerusalem, most of these people that were hiding Jewish people are Polish. But people are just tribal. If they have this threat like that, they're just gathering with the family, with other people from their nation, especially like it is now. You have coronavirus, and what governments are doing? They are bargaining for the vaccination. They're not saying, okay, let's just buy this vaccination and just collect money from all over the world, all the banks, national banks, international bank, all these funds. Let's just fucking print money to buy a vaccination for everyone on the world. No, Germany is making little bargain with the vaccination company, with Pfizer. Poland is doing the same. Hungary is doing with Russians. Others are dealing with Chinese. Man.
Yeah, but I think
that's awful.
I think it's, and I'll tell you why I think it's silly, and I'll tell you why it won't work. First of all, no offense, the world is so mixed now. No offense, I think they just did a study about the amount of people in Germany now who are Auslanders or outnumbering the natives. I can't remember the exact details of it, but it's dumb. And I think that because we believe in these imaginary borders, things like World War II were able to happen. Because if for example, there was no borders, it wouldn't be an issue about Germany being poor. I think that's why Hitler was able to be as influential as he was. Germany. Hitler was able to be as influential as he was to the German people because you had a poor country. They were still paying reparations from World War I. Their country wasn't bouncing back. And then here are these Jewish people sitting there building these wonderful looking communities from the outside, at least, because that's what it always, the grass is always greener on the other side. And he was able to say, they got our money. And then everyone in this border were like, how? That's not fair. How come they have money? We want money.
That's how you make politics,
Absolutely. But why? Because we all believe that us in this border, all of us that can call ourselves something, it would be easy to make other the enemy.
Yeah.
You get rid of borders, there are no enemies. It's just us. Literally, move to where you want to. Do what you want to do. I'm not trying to say get rid of capitalism. I'm not trying to turn into a communist situation here. Do your money thing. I don't care. That means nothing to me. Obviously, I don't have enough to mean anything to me right now. But call me when I'm a millionaire or a billionaire. I don't know. It might be a different conversation. But right now, I don't care about money whatsoever. Keep it, let it go, whatever. But get rid of these things that separate us. And I think that's my goal if I have a goal in life, period. When I sing, if you don't see something in me that reminds yourself of me, then I have failed. I'm not doing my job. And I do believe that, okay, short story. Sorry, last short story. There's too many of them. I was and of course, Texas. I was in Texas, and this was the 4th tour that I had done, and we were doing this musical called Lost Highway, which is the Hank Williams, which is a country singer's story. And you found out in this story that he learned how to sing his style of music from this black guy who trained him as a child and raised him as a child and whatever. Yeah. What they don't tell you in that story is that as soon as he got famous, he completely stopped taking care of the black guy and threw him away. But, for Disney and the happiness of musicals, it was like, you get to see him on his porch. I'm so proud of, that was only because the reason I know the lines because that was my role. I'm so proud of you, Hank. And then the man dies. But, so it was like... Sorry, just thinking about how silly that darn musical was. Great musical, but it was hard for me as a black person to be like, the man got famous and didn't take me with him, didn't I train him? But either way, I got off stage and this woman came to me and she's like, "You are the best performer I've ever seen in my life." And I said, okay. I'm in Texas, so that means I can't respond how I would want to respond. And I said, "Well, ma'am, can you tell me what was it about my performance that spoke to you?" And she says, "Oh, when you sang that, I felt so lonely I could die." She said, she said, "There's something about it that really kind of connected to me, and I feel that way too. I'm an older lady. My kids are no longer at home. My husband has died." And then we had this whole long conversation. And then at the very end of it, I was able to say, "Thank you so much, ma'am, for telling me your story." Literally, I made the bus wait. They hated me on that tour, by the way. If I ever had a diva moment, it was that moment, because obviously I was supposed to be on the bus. We were going to our next tour place. But I'm sitting in the lobby talking to this older lady. They fired me from that tour, too. I'm sorry. Either way, so at the very end, after I told tour, I gave her my telephone number. I said, "Ma'am, if you feel lonely, you call me." I said, I don't know how often I can come to Granbury, Texas, which is where we were. I said, "But ma'am, if you're financially stable enough," I said, "you can come see me." I said, "You free tickets to whatever show." I said, "I'll take you out to eat. I would love to keep in contact with you." And she was like, "Absolutely." And she cried and I hugged her. And then the last thing I said to her, I said, "Now, I don't want you to ever call another black person the N-word." And she looked at me and she said, "Why? Why?" I said, "Because we hate it." I said, "It hurts our feelings." And she's like, "I didn't ever mean to hurt your feelings." I said, "I know you didn't." I said, "This is why we were able to have this conversation." I said, "Because any other conversation from me, for you calling me that word, my vocabulary is nice now. I've gotten rid of all the cuss words, but at that time I was a cusser and would have told you some really wonderful words in return." I said, "But ma'am, I said, it was so oppressive to us." I said, "Could you please stop?" And I did keep in contact with her until she died. And she was like, "I don't," and she's so proud, "I never use that word anymore." I said, "Well, thank you so much." So it only takes us breaking down these borders, these things that separate us, to literally start seeing the stupidity of it. Like, this woman's whole family was racist. I found that out, once I went back to Granbury. I went and visited her. And her whole family was that way. And she became my biggest fighter. Her whole family kind of was like, "Oh, you got an N-word up in the house." And she was like, "This is family. You treat him like he's my son. If you can't treat him like he's my son, you get out." It only took us getting rid of the borders of what made us separate for this woman to change. Now, who knows what she did when I wasn't there? But
I get you.
Yeah, but all because of a border. A border.
I know. Wow, I'm against borders.
Me too. Burn them.
I just see what's going on in the world.
So we're starting the fight here, me and you. No more borders.
No more borders.
You ready for the fight?
Yeah.
That's gonna be our song, brother.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. I think I talked too long.
Raymond, that's okay.
You're like, "You did. I'm not gonna tell you. You didn't."
No one is here anymore, but
yeah, right.
No, you're still here.
Okay, was this live?
Of course.
You're lying.
Yeah, I'm lying.
Okay, I was about to say, you should never trust my mouth to be live. I could have got you in a lot of trouble. But thank you so much for inviting me. I look forward to listening to more of your music, and I look forward to us writing something.
Yeah, we'll do something. We'll do something when it will be over.
When what's over? This life is over?
No, this COVID.
Over. You got to work now, because when COVID is over, that's when you need to start pushing.
Yeah, we'll do it.
I'll call you in a couple of weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.